Welcome back to the SMITE Minor League. My name is Finch, and I am joined here on the desk by Ryan, Aggro, Bailey. As if I didn't get enough of you at DragonCon, they paired me with you here again. Right?
Lucky for you, man. What a great weekend into week for you.
Yeah, this
Very
week,
fortunate.
how close are we to this date being done? Let's see if we can move
We're
things
already on
along.
set 2, man.
That's good
Set
news,
1 was
yeah.
pretty quick.
It was actually pretty quick, and you kind of expected when Johnny's able to get the Ao Kuang, right? I mean, that guy plays really well on that pick, and most other picks as well. Johnny's very good at SMITE, it turns out. This next set that we're going into, though, Simplicity up against Horizon Union, might be another one that could potentially be quick as well.
Yes.
And that's nothing against Horizon Union, man. Simplicity have just been monsters the entirety here of this season.
They really have. I mean, this is the team that came and represented this region very, very well at the Midseason Invitational. Right. Didn't get a win up against an SPL-level competition, but got close. And you can tell that this team is one that really you have to respect, even going into Worlds if you're an SPL team.
Agreed.
Simplicity, really, in my mind, you're just making sure, number one, that you are the number one seed in this region, because it will be competitive here. But number two, that you add some wrinkles, you get comfortable with some different styles of compositions. I think this meta that we're in, where a lot of your hunters are playing mages in the long lane, and the mid laners are playing ADCs in mid, I think this favors this team pretty heavily. DeathPanter loves his physical hunters, whereas StreakUp loves to play mages. So I think this composition and this team can be really good for Simplicity.
I think so too, but this is still just a difficult matchup if you're Horizon Union trying to find a way to overcome all the strength that's on this roster as picks and bans are ready for game number 1. I mean, if I'm being honest, Simplicity I think is one of those few teams that's almost SPL level, right? Like right there on that edge. I mean, the maniaKK, Faeles, DeathPanter, Genetics, these guys are all players who are either been in the SPL or of that caliber in terms of play, so just barely a minor league team to me. This is a very strong roster that Horizon Union's going into. There's some names that you should recognize here. I mean, Markus, Mr. Stefan are on this roster. These are players who have been around for a while, just not going to be easy.
No, certainly not. I mean, what we've seen from Horizon Union so far, this split has not been particularly inspired, and now you're going up against the top of, the cream of the crop in your region. We expect this one to be fairly one-sided, but we've been surprised before. That's what we play the games for, and I'm looking forward to it because Horizon Union certainly has some experience, as you mentioned. Mr. Stefan's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Maybe get him one of his signature picks, the Vulcan, and let him get to work. Maybe he can make some plays.
See if he can try and slow down the Simplicity roster. As so far, these bans seem fairly standard. I was a bit surprised we didn't see Thor more valued in that first set. I think he was ignored entirely in Game 1 and then struggled mightily in Game number 2 when he fell behind Johnny's Ao Kuang.
Sure.
And again, here he has not been banned. I mean, Zhongqi, Isis, Merlin, Jormungandr, those are all standard bans, but maybe Thor can come through.
Certainly has the opportunity. I mean, that is a god that can hyper carry games, and also usually when falls behind, can still say at least somewhat relevant with the long-range stun with Tectonic and, of course, the ultimate. But I don't know. I do think that people are remembering how to play against Thor a little bit now. They're realizing that we still have windows to abuse him pretty well.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the natural cycle of things, where one thing looks really strong that's come back from the grave, and then people go, oh yeah, if we just do X, Y, Z, then this Thor isn't nearly as scary as we thought.
You know who also is pretty consistently good?
Muzen.
Yeah, there you go. Look at that right there. Perfect timing on it. Chronos also pretty good as well, though I doubt that these two will be directly matching up. But Muzen fits much more in the mid lane nowadays, and Chronos, you want to put him in the oven, that is that long lane.
And StreakUp has had a premier Chronos, not just in the minor league, but in all of competitive SMITE for a long time now. And that's what Simplicity has really worked on, is getting other picks so that this couldn't consistently get banned away. This was a constant ban against Simplicity in the first phase. Now, even with that extra ban we have, it gets left open because maniaKK's been so good on the Jormungandr, and DeathPanter's been so good on the Chernobog.
Yes.
And that really opens the door for StreakUp to get a priority pick.
He certainly did. I mean, Osiris for maniaKK is also a bit of a priority pick, something that he very much likes to play. So these are two great ones to snatch up. But for what it's worth, Horizon Union are not falling behind in my mind. And Muzen obviously very strong right now. And I've seen a lot of Morrigan value out there too.
Sure.
And they're going to pair in Khepri, who's become kind of the flavor support, I feel like, nowadays as well.
Khepri and Horus together, I think, have done a lot of work as of late. Heavy CC, great peel, can initiate fights still. I mean, that's kind of what people are looking for out of their supports right now. And this is a great time to be playing support, by the way. You're getting as much farm as everyone else on the map, basically, outside of the two side laners. So your 3v3, your support's usually the same level or a level behind mids or junglers at this point. And Gauntlet of Thebes is an absurd item. I mean, you've got great itemization. Pridewind, of course, we see a ton. Supports right now are in a very strong spot, probably the strongest they've been in a long time. So getting a priority pick in that role makes a lot of sense to me.
Certainly does, and That's not even to mention the Scarab's Blessing, right, and how good it is against a lot of the dive that's strong right now. Is Daji picked up here by Simplicity. I don't know that I necessarily go right to Faeles when I think of Daji, or the other way around, right to Daji when I think of Faeles, but it is certainly something that I know the man can pilot to a good, very well, and Daji can pull beads out if you don't have enough of that available on your team. She does have plenty of that dive potential we just talked about too, to force the Scarab's Blessing out. This can definitely still work.
No inherent CC immunity for anybody on Horizon Union quite yet, though keep in mind Scarab's Blessing does cleanse CC.
Right.
So if, let's say AMC's about to get pulled, we see Khepri throw that Scarab's Blessing on him, that breaks the chain and can't be rechained. So this is still a good pick, I think, from Faeles. You just have to be worried about the Scarab's Blessing cooldown and that confusion kind of stealth out of the Morrigan. That will cancel Trickster Spirit if it's in the middle of channeling. He's trying to teleport to him. So that's something you just have to be wary of. But I still like the Daji pick. I think Daji is one of the strongest assassins right now.
I do think, because there's a good chance we might see a Morrigan Chronos matchup, I think, in the long lane. That could potentially be what's on the cards here.
Yep.
And a lot of the times, Morrigan can really benefit from being able to use her whole kit, transform, and then hit you with your own ultimate. But against Chronos, she won't necessarily have quite that, so maybe we'll see Poseidon or even like an AMC transformation. Do you think that Chronos is still a good target if you're Morrigan to turn into?
Yeah, absolutely, because you almost force rewind just by going into the stealth and going with the three aspects into Dark Omen stun. I mean, you have a lot of options still. Morrigan just has so much aggressive potential in that long lane. That's why we see her have success there.
She can definitely blow you up quickly as Pele comes through. So we're going to have two kind of about the same level assassins that I'm thinking that both want to dive, blowing kind of past each other to get to the other one's backlines right away. We love seeing this kind of high-flying action. Achilles here as well to give them an execute on their own side, going into Simplicity's draft, where they're going to add the Serqet into the support role, I imagine.
Yeah, Serqet's support here does look pretty potent. This is good early game pressure out of Simplicity on the right side with the Osiris, in mid in the 3v3 with Poseidon, Serqet. Those are really tough to fight against. And then you've got the Chronos kind of waiting for the late game later on. I like Simplicity's draft a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of like a sneaky amount of lockdown. There's no like big Athena taunt or anything, but each one of them has a bunch of really good tools for kind of keeping locked down. So Simplicity in a good spot. Let's get ready here though for the action in game number 1. Simplicity against Horizon Union. I'll get it to the casters.
Thanks a lot there, John. Great job on the desk. Tom Battinger here bringing you the action. Joined here by the one and only Anatoly Astyaniax. A lot of talk of the junglers there on the desk. We see the Daji versus the Pele. I'll be honest with you. As I hear a blink real quick, I'll be honest with you. I think Genetics is in some trouble. Support Serqet, trying to do what she does best, harass the opposition near their speed. But it's a 2-on-1.
It's a little bit early also, before the speed buff spawns. There's plenty of time, I believe, for the rotations from Horizon if they really wanted to, but it seems that Terror are going to stay in that solo lane. Genetics not able to steal it off, but the goal is not necessarily to get the last hit. It's sometimes just to be able to delay this next buff, blue buff, or the back camps, and so far it's working.
Right now, Simplicity here looking for an upper hand because I don't think they have it. Genetics kind of hurting himself, but we've seen that before. maniaKK, on the other hand, getting himself in some trouble. Some good body blocks. Markus suffers a zigzag, and Genetics able to confirm that one.
Mission accomplished. DeathPanter is down, though. Could be in a little bit of trouble in the mid lane. The dots! Not enough!
Pele is such an odd character, totally. I mean, watching Pele here on the right side making this transition over here to the left. Daji's there under the tower, but how does she punish? She's got the movement speed, but it feels like she's sold to me as an early game character because of that move speed.
Sure.
But the power kind of lacks.
Yeah, there's not enough clear, I think, for Pele at level 1, so that's why Genetics, as a Serqet, even without the Assassin's Blessing, elects to make these harassment plays. The fact that he stole the blue buff is also going to hinder the Pele even further, whereas we're seeing the Daji rotations make a huge impact. Chrome already forced to use that health potion probably much earlier than he would have wanted to stay alive, as 30% movement speed is the goal for Markus to use throughout the jungle clear, but when you're getting harassed by the support, you're not able to really get from point A to point B.
Not at all. Check in with the mid lane. DeathPanter on the side and an Echrome with the Bumblebee. Plenty of clear there. But it's all about these invades and the secures. The blue buff being stared at here by Simplicity. And Genetics will secure the second one. He seems to be playing jungle too. Faeles is playing on the left side of the map, and Genetics playing on the right side of the map. You can see the jungle clear coming out from the Serqet player.
And I was going to make note of how Simplicity started off their own jungle side. Speed buff into red buff was the pathing that Faeles took. And at the 45-second mark was when the red buff was completed. And at that point, Markus was still kind of toying around with the support Genetics before he even opted to go for that blue buff, and by then it was already too late. It's so hard to confirm against a Deathbane from Serqet, even without Assassin's Blessing.
Genetics going in here.
Again.
No, looks like he missed it. Blue buff uncontested. Here it is. Terror. First blood. Horizon Union. They're able to get themselves on the map, and Markus will wiggle away. Blue buff denied this time. Genetics couldn't pick it up.
That's right. He didn't pick it up, but it's still denied it, which is the most important part. Terror without blue buff can't really win these boxing skirmishes up against maniaK's Osiris. As hard as it is enough to fight an Osiris, now he's going to have to do it without the blue buff. His teleport is up, but going for the Chalice and the health potion start, normally you want to back around having 1,700 gold, maybe a little bit more for some wards on top of it, but Terror's not going to get that luxury if maniaKK continues to be a bully.
You're throwing me for a curveball here, Tolly. I'm sitting here, I'm like, I didn't really have too crazy of a night last night. Why am I... Where's this Terror that he's talking about?
Oh.
I can't see Terror. But the Achilles player is Terror, and I'm sure a couple of other people were thrown off as well. Achilles definitely a character that needs that blue buff. He wants to be spamming all the time. The dodges, the plan of action kind of ability into the shield stun. That's all what you want to be doing. Achilles is just looking to be a bully like maniaKK, but the big difference there is that maniaK's able to do it by way of basic attacks supplementing the action, whereas Terror, he'll look for the little poke like Hydra style, but really he's all ability based.
And here's the difference between these two soul laners, despite finishing off Glad Shield at the same exact timing, is their second consumable slot. You got wards out of maniaKK and 3 health potions coming from this Achilles player, so being very conservative, knowing that the damage mitigation from the Osiris passive is a little bit too much.
Poseidon here, locking a player up, zoning ult, and I'll buy that. Genetics goes ahead and confirms the kill for Simplicity, and Echrome turns it around as he should. All of those kind of expected, you know? You jump over to the left, the Kraken goes to the right, no problem, because you have the left follow-up, but Echrome, everybody needs to get those kills.
Oh yeah, the mechanics definitely showing off there from Echrome. The reaction timing to be able to hit that stinger after the ambush was down. No Deathbane afterwards anyway, hitting out the swarm and the very important last basic attack. All with tier 2 boots. Difficult to kind of hit a slippery Serqet that already had those tier 3 completed on her own side.
5 minutes in, red buff going to be looked at and taken here.
Interesting. It's funny how that little skirmish happened though, but Mark is going to get taken out there. So
Astyaniax is going to be followed up, and that'll be a double kill. Split down the middle, one for DeathPanter and one for the jungle. Nice plays there by Simplicity, and those attention to detail plays is what Simplicity have kind of made their name on. They've looked really strong on being able to find, oh, you've grabbed our jungler on the wrong side, no problem, we can turn this and burn this.
They're winning on every side of the map now. They're doing a good job isolating individual targets and then grouping up at the red buff when it's appropriate. They're not really forcing that red buff. It didn't seem like Faeles wanted to fully commit to the red buff, and he was about to give it up until the abduct actually happened. I believe that the dot was the one that confirmed it. And what I wanted to make note of was the pull, the abduct actually forced the red buff to be picked up by Faeles. So now he's going to have to delay his speed buff a little bit before wanting to get that buff.
Going for the speed now.
Now, he needs the red buff to expire from himself before he even goes for it. Unless he gives it to Genetics just straight up.
I think that's the game plan. Just give Genetics the speed buff this time around, which Genetics is going to be able to make use of the speed buff just as much. It's not like your mid lane has to use it stuck in the mid. Genetics has been rotating all across the map, and so this will be thankful, and Markus will be thankful to his Khepri support. Nice save there. Long range save.
Oh, yeah. This double assassin from Simplicity is really making it difficult for Horizon to even walk into their own jungle, to be worried about the Volcanic Lightning, the Last Breath, even maniaKK. Being able to outpush Terror into the blue buff gives more freedom to go for invades very cleanly.
Right side, we've got the blue buff on lock. Simplicity has done a very good job at trying to keep Terrorem down. You talked a lot about how the Achilles kind of really needs this blue buff. Well, he don't have it, Toli. The reality is you're not going to get it. So how do you adjust your gameplay in order to fix that?
Honestly, you just got to sit back and farm, because if you're getting out-cleared without any vision, you can't even look for any counter-invades, really, because you have no vision on the left, no vision on the right. You're like flying a plane in the dark without your radar almost. So you have to make all these educated guesses as to where the jungler is going to be and what you can and can't get away with. If you see maniaKK going to your blue, then you maybe have a rotation like this.
An early ultimate. maniaKK going to jump away, ult for ult. Was there kill potential there?
Yes, but not worth it, because at the very best case scenario, Markus would have died alongside maniaKK.
Even with the execute? Because I feel like that execute...
Well, the execute was used to start off the engagement instead of ending it. It was just used for the initial damage.
If I see like a stun and some damage, we'll see if that's the case, as we have take two here. maniaKK fails, Genetics over the wall, Terror all of a sudden surrounded. And maniaKK will get the last hit off of that surprise gank. I don't think Terror had any idea that was coming.
No, definitely not. And I think he really butchered that engagement by starting it off with the Fatal Strike. Normally, you want to get it for the last hit, but also, more importantly, when you're using your ultimate for poke damage, you're kind of like putting your opponent at like a standstill. Like, well, is he doing this for damage, or is he doing this because he has a gank coming around the corner? And you're not doing enough damage with Fatal Strike to get the lane advantage if there is no rotations, because of the health chalice coming from maniaKK, because of the Glad Shield sustain that he gets as well.
Fight on the right side. Markus and Khepri chased under the tower. One pull in. It's Terror again. Kraken is good, but a save. Khepri on the money. Beautiful plays here from Astyaniax. Really enjoyed what we've been able to see out of the Baghdad. Some good saves, some nice plays. That's still Horizon down 3,000, give or take. But Simplicity have not been able to get the kills they've been after.
No, definitely not, because of the 2-for-2 plays out of this Khepri, saving the mid laner and then also now into that solo lane. Good plays from him despite the earlier deaths. Still trying to desperately stack this gauntlet of themes. Not able to really do so cleanly, whereas Genetics has just been an absolute nuisance. And that's where the difference of gold comes from. It's not all in the support's hands, but it's the denial of Markus. The Pele has not been able to get many buffs on his own side of the map.
Not at all. Pele Crusher and boots intact. Usually a good spot for when Pele wants to go get involved, but believe it or not, the pace of the game has been set on the other side. And because of that, I love the Jotun's pickup here from Faeles on the Dodgy. Now, I like Jotuns in general for junglers, but when you have an impactful ult, I'm talking Hun Batz, I'm talking Dodgy, I'm talking Nemesis, that Jotun's first item is less for you and more for the team. The more powwows you have access to, the more opportunities like that's on the right side you can have.
Transforming a 90-second cooldown to 72 seconds gives you an 18-second extra window to go again once you burn the initial beads cooldowns.
Every 3 minutes, that's an extra ult. Think about it that way. You know, it's pretty insane. Oh, we knew you well. The bug stepped on that time. 4 players surrounded. And Khepri goes down, not able to save their own selves as the ult still was on cooldown. Mr. Stefan gets beads out of StreakUp. Fails on the other side, though.
Oof, a little bit too far forward for his own good. Couldn't find the escape path that he definitely would have liked. And without Blink, he was just dead to rights there. I like the idea to pick up the beads, honestly, because if you're going to be aggressive against a Pele, against an Achilles, especially somebody that's going to cripple you, like Echrome, or root and abduct you, like the Khepri, you're going to want that defensive relic. So the fact that he only died once is actually an accomplishment in 12 minutes with how aggressive Simplicity was so far.
That's very true. Very true. Looking at how much, like you said, the level of aggression. I talked about the Jotun's Wrath second item. I want to talk about the Spear of the Magus second item as well for DeathPanter. It's an interesting look. I don't think this is something you go every game on Poseidon, but when you're able to get a little bit of a lead like we've seen, this really works out well. Not only does he have a little bit of a lead, so he's really stripping everything the players have, but perhaps more importantly, the Khepri is the target. And the Khepri's prots per level are naturally going to be a little bit higher, and here with the Spear of the Magus, he can just strip that down and make Khepri a viable target when in other places he might not be.
I mean, 12 minutes in to get 60 flat penetration once you build that off of the Whirlpool. As tanky as this Khepri is with the Gauntlet of Thebes, with the Reinforced Shoes, that's going to be a lot of penetration to follow up, even for StreakUp once he makes his rotations. That time rip, time stop, not going to be a joke if Khepri's stuck inside the Whirlpool. Even if he does have Scarab's Blessing to revive himself, StreakUp will follow up.
Well, 13 on the clock here. Simplicity with a nice lead, 4K, nice comfy look towards the future, 3,500. They could push it a little bit further if they look for the Gold Fury. The vision belongs to them, of course. Right side of the red buff, a little bit of an engagement. Faeles going up. Chrome with the dodge, can't weave. He'll be picked and pulled.
Oh, they didn't go on him, though. Regardless, Genetics is going to disengage. He had the last breath, but he's going to use it defensively.
Love this play. The peel is there, and the kill works out. Terror makes the rotation, so the lady gets a kill, and now Mr. Stefan being chased down. Changeling is available, goes into the dodge E to jump to a teammate and to the powwow. Grabs two. Do they have beads? No! The all-out collapse. Horizon Union grabs one. Echrome, the one on top. And the rest of the team will fall back, slowed, but no big deal. Markus for maniaKK and DeathPanter. Horizon Union down, but not out. Take the team fight.
Not quite yet. A little surprising as to the patience from Genetics, because he goes in to force the beads from Echrome to allow the dodgy powwow. Faeles pulls in Echrome, but then no follow-up. There was a hard disengage call, really fearful of the counter-engage from Markus, and unfortunately, the damage was still enough to find the kill onto DeathPanter. If DeathPanter lives there from the save from Genetics, I think that teamfight heavily favors Simplicity, but without that magical damage, without the penetration to give StreakUp any follow-up, Horizon Union was able to disengage beautifully to the rotation of Mr. Stefan.
Right now, Horizon, what can they get off of that? Gold is not on the table for them. In fact, Simplicity are the ones that are going to be setting the table here. Kraken is good enough. That's easy. Unceremonious. The Gold Fury goes to Simplicity. Horizon Union were the ones that made the last play, but not only could they not find anything off of it, Toli, they actually lose something off of it.
Well, it's also so early in the game that these respawn timers are short enough that even if Horizon Union were to go for the Gold Fury, the 3 surviving Simplicity members would have stalled it out long enough for DeathPanter to come in, contest it, and maybe just straight up steal it anyway with the Kraken. So Horizon Union just can only be spectators, as the Khepri was looking for a less than 1% chance to steal that one against the Kraken.
Yeah, Mr. Stefan didn't have the ultimate available yet. If he did, it's a big different conversation. Turn it to Poseidon, Kraken on top of the Kraken. Now you're rolling the dice.
Oh, yeah.
Now you're playing craps, baby.
50-50.
Without that in your hands, though, not going to be the case. So Mr. Stefan will have that a little bit later. Right now, Horizon Union looking up at the same 4,000, 3,500 lead that they were looking at before. So no harm, no foul as far as where they have already come from. As far as their future is concerned, still uncertain, slightly leading in Simplicity's favor. But if we had the advantage bar, so to speak, I don't think it'd be tilted. I think that Horizon absolutely are still in this one. And for them to be successful, I'm looking largely at Mr. Stefan into the later stages of the game. Some of these mages come online with 2 or 3 items. The Morrigan, more like 4 or 5. But she completely changes, no pun intended, she completely changes as a character once she gets these items online, because the stealth, into the stun, into the 2 damage, you start blowing players up as an assassin in your own right.
That's right. It's up to Mr. Stefan, and I think also Echrome to step it up in that late game. And this is a game of just marginal inches, as Simplicity, with only 1 kill advantage, is able to extend that with the objectives. Just the high caliber prospect of the experience between all of these individual members, between the SPL formerly, between multiple minor league seasons before, of knowing what objectives is the priority between the invades, between the gold furies, which is why we're seeing this gold disparity, and also a little bit of an experience advantage.
Pyromancer could be the next target here. Simplicity of certainly positioned for it. Genetics taking the aggressive path up front to see where players are with the backline on back. Backline can start whenever they want, and in fact, they'll do that right now. Genetics peeling back to the rest of the team. The objective low, and there it is. Simplicity take it, but now looking for the fight. Markus gets attracted by the Khepri ult. Backside, here comes Stefan looking for somebody, but missing. That's not going to work out. The jump over as he turns into Daji. Paolo. This is defensive. I mean, there's nobody here. His team finally inches up, and now maniaKK in trouble.
Echrome now looking to try to disengage as well, but the chase is on. Simplicity looking for Mr. Stefan. Stunt onto Genetics, but he's a little too tanky. Everyone very split up here.
Haphazard. I think we saw the Morrigan go a little bit too far forward and then really be unable to kind of handle it after the fact.
So level 16 Osiris here pulling with a very tanky build. A lot of health. I believe he was in his Osiris full passive anyway. Yeah. So 16% physical mitigation, 8% magical. Difficult to lock down maniaKK at this point in the game.
Stefan was going for what I was talking about, the stealth, invisibility, stun, and then get him. But the player that he was looking for outran him. And so all of a sudden he finds himself, oh, I'm the Morrigan behind enemy lines, what do I do? And he just mashes the ult button, turns into Daji. Still unable to finish it, but because of that, I mean, that's Mr. Stefan, that was a big part of what Horizon wanted to do. And so Simplicity get aggressive, they take a tower, they take a life, Echrome goes down, as his tier 1 does as well. Still about a minute before Oni spawns. And Simplicity will go, look at the timer, fall back, buy, and then likely head right towards the Oni Fury. Really, if I'm Simplicity, Toli, my game plan is a schedule, and Horizon can show up if they want. I'm going to Oni Fury, I'm going to Fire Giant, and then I'm taking the towers. And if there's a Horizon unit in my way, I'm killing them too.
It definitely feels like Simplicity is controlling almost every aspect of this game, and a lot of players, when they look at Echrome's death there with Aegis up, would question it, but I don't, because nobody else was really there to save him anyway, so it's better to save that for a rainy day. And honestly, it doesn't feel as though Simplicity are going to force any objectives quite yet, so Echrome can still enter this fight with that defensive relic available.
The Oni Fury. Also the only Fury, right? There's only one up at the time.
Sure.
The only Fury is the Oni Fury.
The only Oni Fury.
The Bony Fury. Does that mean the Gold Fury is the boneless? So Simplicity looking for the Oni Fury, and it's all done. Easy peasy. Simplicity sitting up by about 5K here. Crossing the street. At least some of them are. I expected a full-on push to fire, but Chronos sees how low the tier 1 is and is willing to go all in. Faeles protecting the right side flank so nobody will group up and turn around. Tier 1 crumbles, so does Mr. Stefan. Nice play there by DeathPanter. Now the team fight on the left side is off. Genetics uses the ultimate, shoving Markus away. Terror, taunted, jumped on, rooted. There's the problematic damage. The stun still here.
Oh, man, finally, but everyone is focused on Markus on the backside. Good positioning from him. But now maniaKK a little bit too far forward, and he gets Fatal Strike.
Yeah, that was Horizon Union biting back as they should. You can't sit on your hands this entire game. And Simplicity finally kind of get smacked for overstepping. I think that Simplicity had a play to make on the left side and go for the tier 1 tower. Anything past that was a little...
Yeah, it was a little sketchy, I agree with you. There was no business for Mr. Stefan to be there defending his tier 1 tower.
Also that.
Great play from Faeles, distracting everyone between that purple and red buff area. That one pal everyone's like looking, making sure that the Khepri was going to Scarab's Blessing anyone that might have been in trouble. But giving up 500 gold for your life, not really worth it there. Whereas maniaKK's like, oh, we're in a 5-on-4. We could just keep going in. But same exact story on the opposite end of the field was Markus being the distractor, so nobody can really follow up from that aggressive mindset.
Horizon Union and Simplicity here, grouping up around the right side. There's something wrong with that statement, Toli. Only one of those teams is, and that's kind of what I'm getting at. Where's Horizon? They should absolutely defend this, I think. Only 5K down. I guess they don't have the tools. I guess you're going up against Kraken. I'll take that back. I guess you're going up against a Kraken, really not conducive to a steel environment. Stefan had the changeling. He was the only one to go in, if anyone. Fine. But now this is your bed, and you may lie in it.
Yeah.
7,000 gold down now. You can't defend your tier 2s. You can think about it, but Simplicity will win this fight. You're better off just defending on the Phoenix's 10k down.
Pretty much, honestly. Tier 2s are going to go down like a hot knife through butter, so it's not worth it. Unless Mr. Stefan gets a good engage. He was thinking about going on to StreakUp, but will settle for maniaKK instead. And in terms of contesting Fire Giant, there's 2 goals in mind for contesting it. You either have steal potential, which you don't, or you have disruption.
Right now, Simplicity going to disrupt the tier 2. Ultimate from Khepri already used. Brief pauses, we wait for the pull, and it comes. But it goes. Genetics is gone. No, he's not. The dots are good enough. 2 for Horizon Union. Simplicity punished for poking the mid lane tower. Mr. Stefan goes forward, but a nice stun from StreakUp's good. The answer back is a Kraken, and that's better. Now a 3-for-1. Simplicity fighting into it. Double kill for DeathPanter. He's going insane. Knockback's good. 1 more shot. The Aegis wears off. Triple kill for DeathPanter. Horizon Union had the moment, and Mr. Panther took it away.
But this is still a huge win for the Order side. They defended a tier 2 tower, getting 3-for-3 against a Fire Giant squad. This is the dream case scenario. Not having to worry about an exposed Phoenix, and now they can safely farm and try to strip away the buffs that they lost earlier on in the game to play catch up.
When you're down this amount of gold, it's really the losses, the near losses are wins because you're coming up even, and that's all you want to do. You're playing the stall game. You're waiting until later when everything can just come out even and the gold is less relevant and starts talking about relic upgrades and itemization and optimization as far as wards are concerned. Right now, Simplicity, maniaKK is just able to eat you. He's level 18, sure, but he's got all these items. Oni Garb, love it. People are surrounding him. He's pounding them.
A little aggressive, I think, from Faeles to expect some follow-up. I like the idea that the Khepri had in terms of cleansing Echrome with the Scarab's Blessing. He was very high on the health pool, but he didn't have beads available. So once he got hit by the Palau, he needed some way to make sure he wasn't going to get pulled. Scarab's Blessing enforced that statement, so that kind of prevented any sort of follow-up. Everyone had to disengage from Simplicity. StreakUp barely getting off his ultimate, and he got off a really nice double stun, which enabled the follow-up from maniaKK and DeathPanter. The ultimate being used at the tail end of a fight shows the sign of a very experienced player that's not too antsy with his ultimate. He's just waiting for that right time, and honestly, hitting 3 players at the dead center of a Kraken allowed Simplicity to at least still maintain some sort of an advantage.
9-11, Simplicity leading by 7,000 gold. Gold Fury has respawned, this time Primal variety. Will help the teams out on those jungle bosses. Horizon Union, around, relevant, and ready to go. Simplicity definitely with the upper hand. But if HU find a nice flank, they can totally take the fight. Again, my eyes on Mr. Stefan.
Oh, yeah.
I think he has a large burden to carry in this team fight. He's got to get the surprise and get a fight. Gold Fury is going to go to Simplicity. We know that. There's the leash.
We're talking about Mr. Stefan setting up, and just like that, that stun setting up all the damage onto Genetics. Not having the movement speed to put yourself in a flanking position for Mr. Stefan, but enough burst damage with the Polynomicon to be able to still punish a tanky support.
Really did not expect Simplicity to leash that. maniaKK now in trouble, but DeathPanter the one targeted. Fall back pretty easily. Doesn't even use his relics. Big deal there. Fails into the ult.
2 beads. You got 2 beads right there between the Khepri and also Echrome. So good Palau, good efficiency there. Not able to steal this one up against a Kraken, which is going to be used.
Okay, early, but still does the job. And that was the reason we saw Simplicity fall back and disengage the first time. They didn't want to use the Kraken, anticipating the team fight after the fact. This time they said, all right, Horizon Union understand what's happening, so we'll Kraken and run, and that's what goes down, and I love it. Mr. Stefan goes for the pulls, won't find it. And so Simplicity, get the objective, run away, easy. Echrome and friends will take a tier 1 tower in response. So a nice 500 gold answer back for Horizon Union.
I like the idea, though, from Mr. Stefan. He almost canceled it back from StreakUp, and if that hit, would have definitely had to have forced his beads on top of it, but didn't really calculate the range after the fact. And all these little plays from Horizon Unit, chasing out Simplicity after the Gold Fury because they saw Kraken being used, is a delay tactic. They didn't really want to take that fight, Tom. They just wanted to delay the backs even further to delay this Fire Giant.
Well, here's Terror. And there's terror in his eyes as Simplicity pick up the Fire Giant. All players surging forward. Terror slowed and stunned, and the grab on Khepri. I don't know if he wants to do all that. Mr. Stefan burns beads, and Khepri going to be pulled in here and to the Kraken, and that be that. Terror finds an answer back, though, so a 1-for-1 exchange. And maniaKK rather low. DeathPanter all the way down. Markus on the good side, but he'll be punished by StreakUp. Terror finds a secondary kill as he chases down the enemy solo. Echrome with bees.
Oh, Mr. Stefan with a stun onto StreakUp. He's forced to use the Aegis. I don't know if he has time to rewind this one.
Yeah, that one's going to be another kill. Horizon Unit now 4 players dead with that Fire Giant buff. The only one alive is Genetics. And whether or not he has Fire Giant is, honestly, I don't really care.
I don't know what's going on with Simplicity because
that was a throw.
They are losing with Fire Giant buff 2 for 2. The tier 2 middle tower, they lost 3 members, only securing 3. This time, after a Fire Giant buff, they chased down Horizon Unit, fighting outside of their towers, which should be a huge advantage. But the problem is Markus took out DeathPanter so fast in that last engagement. The Kraken was used offensively against the Khepri, and that's when Markus knew he was safe to dive.
13 all. We're not tied, but you wouldn't believe it. A 5,000 gold lead still for Simplicity, but Horizon Union doesn't seem to believe in gold leads whatsoever. Coming closer to parity as players finish off their 6th and 5th items for sure, but not there yet. Horizon Union just willing to take the fight, find the fight, and then run home with it. Really, totally what I saw there was I've been drilling home. It's up to Mr. Stefan, which is funny because usually at this moment it's up to the flank, whether that's the jungle or the solo.
Sure.
Mr. Stefan is who I've been asking it from simply because of his character's prowess at finding that flank. But it was Markus that brought us that team fight. And guess what he did? Him and Terror found the flanks. Markus went deep up the top and killed DeathPanter, who needs to be the target. And then Terror came down south, got an early execute, and then went on the left side and found the flank. So Horizon Union kind of identified how to fight this team fight totally. I want to see how they take the next one.
It's the sustain from Markus between his Pele passive and the Soul Eater now that's enabling him to survive without the use of the Aegis. Once the Kraken's down, there's not enough burst damage to punish this Pele diving that backline.
Right now, Horizon looking to punish Simplicity, running at them, just running at them. Not a care in the world. But as we pass our 30-minute mark, Simplicity certainly still ready and willing to fight. They just want to find their own terms. And that's where I posed the question to you, Toli. What are the terms that Simplicity want to fight on?
Honestly, at this point, they might as well allow Horizon Unit to try to go for an objective at this point to look for the counter-engage. But I think once they see Terror on the left side of the map, that could be the go sign for Simplicity. Fire Giant not due to respawn for another 2 minutes. Tier 2 tower very healthy. They're going to see this teleport, so they can expect a 5-on-5.
Simplicity here, 3 players in the lane, 2 in the jungle. Mr. Stefan looking for the surge forward. Finds Genetics, the pull's good, and he's going to die. Kraken a little late.
He was on the Khepri that's still holding on to the Scare's Blessing as well. Great patience yet again.
Blue dash on the right side. DeathPanter knocked up, knocked down. Markus, bullseye. DeathPanter is absolutely the target that you want to find for Simplicity. And again, if I've said that Mr. Stefan is the guy, he's the protagonist, then Markus is the deuteragonist, and he has usurped the role. Late game Pele, not exactly what we say often, but here comes Pele in the late game.
It feels like Simplicity is like a deer crossing the road that gets caught out by a car and just looking at the headlights because they don't know what to do anymore after they reach that point because they're almost there finishing the crossing. They just can't get to the other side, Tom.
It's got to hurt a little bit. maniaKK here chasing down 4 members, StreakUps as well. Terror isolated. Meanwhile, off screen, Khepri goes down to the hand of Faeles, who grabs 2 more. maniaKK gets Mr. Stefan. Terror goes as well. Double kill for the jungler. Tolly, imagine you're a Dia. Imagine you're a Dia.
My cousin Vinny, please stop.
You're drinking water at the little Dia pond, and then bam, Simplicity shoots you in the head for no reason. Kills 3 of your teammates. What are you gonna do then?
I'm gonna cry. That's what I'm gonna do. Think of Bambi and cry. But this is the place that sometimes you might have to go for. Both of these teams are finding different scenarios where they're getting a lead and then they overextend, not anticipating the small little flanking by Markus on one side, by Faeles on another, and finally, after 32.5 minutes of play, the first Phoenix goes down in mid.
Simplicity finding their window of opportunity and slither it in there. I use that term intentionally because I think it was a very slim window of opportunity.
Small indeed.
You gotta sneak on in, but a great job there from the Chronos player for sure. One more time, Fire Giant will be started. Of course, this time, the older sibling. It do not seem to matter. Tons of DPS from Simplicity. Kraken out, Fire Giant down. Simplicity will retreat, buy, and then reassess the situation. Left side, most likely.
Probably left side, I think, is the better one, knowing that it's furthest away from that Fire Giant side. And in the rule of 3s, Tom, I think that this third Fire Giant, after the 30-minute mark, to become the enhanced Fire Giant, could seal the deal now, as Simplicity has more damage, more sustain, better opportunity to backdoor the towers or the Phoenixes if they are given that opportunity. They could definitely force some isolation tactics with Faeles and the Blink. He's been doing a lot of damage despite having this Mantle of Discord. The Bloodforge is enough for him to really try to all-in anybody just to get that shield for the waterfall effect.
I love the last side of Mantle of Discord. Don't forget, that's the replacement for Boots.
Yep.
Everything else has been all damage. That's really what he's needed to do. The Daji finds himself mid on the player damage. So I think a lot of that clearly going to Echrome, StreakUp, and DeathPanter, who DeathPanter has been, you know, the driving force for the Simplicity squad for sure, and continues to be in the late game. Markus has kind of reappeared as a new villain to kind of take on, but Simplicity has done a great job of dealing with whether it's Markus, Mr. Stefan, or whoever Horizon Union sort of throws in that direction.
Even with Faeles being in the middle of the charts, I think that he's been a part of enough kills to warrant his build being successful. The setup that he has, allowing DeathPanter to be 6, 3, and 5 with even more damage, gives Simplicity some edges. But thus far, I think that DeathPanter, in that last fight on the right side of the map, it was too preemptive to use that Kraken. As patient as he was earlier on that game, that time, it was too aggressive. It was unwarranted, and then he got caught out in a bad position. He was thinking that his movement speed would have saved him on that Poseidon, but it just wasn't enough.
Rarely is. The movement speed sometimes gets... I feel like the movement speed on Poseidon sometimes gets you out of like those cheeky 1v1s in the mid lane, or really allows you to rotate here and there, but when the going gets tough in a team fight, that movement speed usually... There's some other element that kind of catches you down, so to rely on it as an escape is a tall task.
And I'm surprised he's not opting for the Gem of Isolation as his last item instead. Probably going to go for defense, realizing the real threat is Markus. And as long as he can survive that initial burst damage, if he can get Mantle of Discord and proc that CC immunity, he should be able to at least run away to his team for some backup.
Well, mid lane, maniaK's going to chase down Markus. Right side, 3 players going to push up onto the tower. DeathPanter and the Chronos player there, ready to go. Genetics chased away. Nice dodge from maniaKK. No abduct for the Khepri. Reset here from Simplicity as Genetics takes a ton of damage. Simplicity going to group up.
All Simplicity need is like 2 or 3 seconds of StreakUp basic attacking that Phoenix with the 4th quadrant of that accelerate for the basic attack damage. It's going to be a little dirty, but the problem for Horizon Union is that their middle Phoenix is respawning, and they're also recognizing there's going to be a pretty big wave on the left. So Simplicity going to try to use that to their advantage. maniaKK camping the respawned middle Phoenix should be able to get it, but instead gonna disengage. Simplicity just waiting for a fire minion wave instead.
Horizon Union largely grabbed up there on the mid lane. We got a brief pause. We'll take a step outside of the game real quick and jump in just a moment. But Simplicity here with a 10,000 gold lead, still unable to break the base. Some good defense coming out from HU.
But at this point, this 10,000 gold lead of 94,000 for Simplicity, 84,000 on the other end is just doesn't even matter, honestly. There are still 6 items on both sides. It's going to come down to maybe a 3k potion from one player, couple of 500 gold potions. Vision control is going to be a big factor. I think there's still a lot of hope for Horizon Union fans on the defense.
That's the thought process at the very least. It will be tough, though. You know, I look at the Poseidon as a boon for Simplicity. I mean, his ability to throw the Kraken out only happens once, but the Whirlpool is such a big deal.
It is, and I'm surprised that we haven't seen that Gem of Isolation going for the Shaman's Ring for amplified damage. And Markus is such a nuisance in that backline on the Pele that it's warranted, I think, to ignore.
Well, there's the Kraken, grabs one. Trouble, though, is Horizon Union seem to be answering back pretty well. Mr. Stefan goes into the dodge. He looks for the pull. The damage will be good enough. Markus on the good side taking care of StreakUp. 1 for 1 so far, so Simplicity with 4 players are kind of ready to go. Whether or not they want to stick to it is a different story. Faeles does. Anybody else want to?
Oh, man. The disengage from Simplicity was just a little bit too soon. I enjoyed seeing the double pull. It was pretty to watch, but without any follow-up, it's like a firework that kind of goes off halfway.
Nowhere to go.
Doesn't explode at the very end.
A dud.
Yeah. Unlucky.
Simplicity want a dub, not a dub.
I think
a dub, not a dud.
I see what you did there.
They want to win, Toli.
They do, but I think the composition now from Simplicity, as good as they were able to execute the early game with a double assassin, is starting to show its weaknesses in the late game. Just more control from Khepri as opposed to genetics on this Serqet. So that's why we're seeing such good defensive measures from Horizon Union. Don't forget that Rising Dawn is another form of peel to mitigate damage.
Certainly is. 38 on the clock here, 17 all. And we are we are eclipsing, excuse me. Closer to a tie game. Horizon Union putting their first foot forward. And here's Genetics on top of Stefan. Not too big of a deal. Now a little bit more all in. This is much bigger of a deal. There's the push. Whirlpool off the mark. Immediately the Daji comes out with the changeling. Pull, good. Genetics on the outside. Not be that. Genetics still going in. Kraken deletes Markus. That's his whole HP. 70% to 0. Just like that. And with the 5-on-4, Simplicity take it and literally run with it. Echrome has to beads away the pull from the Whirlpool. And left side, everybody chasing the tanky Achilles. Is this the right call?
It is, because if they kill him, they can march it and run it down middle in a 5-on-3. Mr. Stefan between a rock and a hard place, forced to go to the right side of the map. The dots good enough from Echrome to at least answer back with fire minions trickling down the middle lane. Simplicity not interested in this fire giant.
They need their support here, or so they think.
I don't think they do, though.
You think that Simplicity could 4 versus 3 their way to a victory?
In terms of at least securing the fire giant, they should be able to. I think that they weren't super healthy in the health and mana pool department, so they're going to take another step back, reevaluate, get some potions and wards. And vision control is such a big factor, because whenever you're against a Morrigan, you kind of know which way they're coming from, because even without Bumba's Mask as another additional movement speed boost, this Morrigan can transform, or rather stealth, from so far away that you won't be able to hear it in the jungle, and it'll surprise you almost every time.
Enhanced Fire Giant started up one more time, 40 minutes on the clock. Last time we saw it was burned down. Here it is, Simplicity, the arsonists, one more time. Mr. Stefan here, grabbing maniaKK, brings him down to half. And the Khepri in tow. The pull not going to be there. Nice job from maniaKK trading out the ultimate. I think that's a perfect move.
I think it's going to favor out Simplicity, though, by having the Morrigan ulti there. It's a much longer cooldown. Only 10%. I guess maybe 20% if Mr. Stefan Or sorry, 30%, because Spear of Desolation, you got the Shoes of Focus, and then maybe a purple pot that he's rocking as well. Whereas maniaK's just kind of chilling with all that CDR as well. 30% for him, but don't forget that Osiris ultimate, much shorter than the Changeling ultimates.
Simplicity now going to be looking at the left side. Gold Fury probably not even in their mind. A lot of times you'll see lower-end teams kind of grab this Gold Fury. High-end teams even grab the Gold Fury. More of just a, well, if we're here, we can do it. But maniaKK going to walk right past it. Looks like Chronos might stop here. Nah, not even. Everybody just going to go straight towards the left side. Daji will split push. It'll be a 4-1 push here from Simplicity. Left side with the 4 and the mid with the 1. Mix and matching just a little bit. Markus ready in the cut.
Last 3 times, Simplicity were unsuccessful with the Fire Giant buff. Is this 4th time the magic timing? Markus going to 1v1 Faeles there as the rest of Simplicity figuring out how they want to portray this fight. Genetics taking a bit of poke damage, but it's actually Khepri in trouble instead.
Ooh, but the Kraken, not as effective as it has been. The idea was to crack in the Khepri and deal with it, but Khepri not caught.
No, but Mr. Stefan was forced to use double relics there. So that's a huge win, I think, for Simplicity. They can definitely wait out having another Kraken to go for Mr. Stefan in round 2, or at least force his middle Phoenix.
Well, mid lane is certainly the target. And Simplicity are going to be the bullet. Just like that, they're able to take it, no problem. Faeles uses the Palo as a zoning tool. Again, the zoning ultimate, kind of tongue-in-cheek. Most of the time, this is not one of those times.
No, definitely not. A huge shout out to Horizon Union, by the way, being able to defensively hold for as long as they have been, 42.5 minutes in. This is a team that hasn't been able to take a map, or a game rather, from any of the top tier teams, losing to Queso, Outcall Gaming, and Flashpoint at 0-2. Their only victories was against Exordium way back in week number 1 when they won that in all 3 games.
And so this, I mean, Simplicity, one of these high-end teams, certainly a great look for Horizon Union this time around. Not on the winning side just yet, but even if it ended right here, right now, Toli, I think Horizon Union could be proud of what they've brought and assess game number 2 in a very interesting scope. But for now, their back foot is their only foot. Simplicity in charge at the moment. Mid lane Bird already taken care of twice now. The left and right sides waiting to be aggressed on. Genetics doing the aggression. Echrome picked up, the ultimate used, and slowly Simplicity seep into the jungle. There's Echrome taking care of DeathPanter. The Bird still stands. The all-out chase is good. Pull, but a double pull. That actually saves maniaKK. He jumps away and looks for the teammates. Markus goes down. Again, maniaKK on the good side.
Those minions, though, in the mid lane, that's going to do a decent amount of damage to the Titan if left unchecked. But Echrome will make that rotation, not taking too much damage. And a great play from Mr. Stefan, finding the double stun.
Oh, man, a great play from Stefan for finding the double stun, but then later, a poor play from Stefan getting the pull. So Khepri, and this was one of those where the best, most communicative teams probably make the same mistake. Khepri is pulling maniaKK all the way behind the Phoenix, and it's likely a kill because he's 1, very far away, and 2, surrounded by enemy teammates. Even if maniaKK doesn't die, he doesn't help his teammates out. What happens is the Daji pull pulls him out of the Khepri pull, closest to right over here in the jungle where the 3 players were being aggressed on by Markus. maniaKK says thanks, uses Lord of the Afterlife to jump out of the Daji pull, takes care of business, kills Markus, his teammates get out. Horizon Union, man, if maniaKK doesn't get pulled there, totally.
Unlucky.
That's the word. We use it a lot, kind of like, again, tongue-in-cheek.
Haphazardly, yeah.
That was actually unlucky.
Because you think you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
You really do. And you got to give credit to Mr. Stefan starting off that engagement so nicely, being able to find that double stunt. But you got to be able to close out just as good as you started off. And same can be said about Simplicity with how well they were starting off the game at invading blue buffs, stripping away a couple of reds, controlling all the Fire Giants, 3 out of 4 of the Gold Furies, and most of the Totem of Coups. It's still been a slobber knocker this whole game.
Simplicity definitely have been the objective-minded team, as you mentioned. Only one Gold Fury going to Horizon Union, and even the Totem of Ku, which sometimes you see, as many as 4 or 5 going the other way just because of rotation or I'm just not there. It spawns every minute.
Yeah.
Only 2 on the order side as well. So Simplicity have been locking it down. They're looking to lock down Genetics, but they shy away from this ambush attempt.
Somebody from Simplicity needs to be that voice of reason to kind of rally the troops together to have a dedicated plan of how to engage. Because against Mr. Stefan, he's creating so much confusion of how to engage that it makes it near impossible for Simplicity to do it cleanly. They're going to have to wait for almost Horizon to overstep their boundaries. But by being this far forward, you don't have the same kind of vision control that you do have access to in the jungle. So you're kind of taking the gamble as to what angle is Mr. Stefan approaching from.
Khepri misses the dash, and that's going to be punished. Or so one would think. The Whirlpool dropped. Simplicity likely to wait for the cooldown one more time. Love this play here. Coming out from Echrome. Just drawing the line, saying if you come past here, you're going to be slowed. StreakUp doesn't seem to mind, though, totally, as the mid lane Phoenix has respawned. And
not only that, just spreading the honey and hitting out the minions. Ooh, Mr. Stefan trying to catch out StreakUp, but accelerate too fast for him. But even spreading the honey on the minions itself makes it harder for the backliners to kind of get there because they're going to be taking all that damage over time.
Ooh, blink forward. This is an all-in from Simplicity. Genetics going in on top of Mr. Stefan. There's the answer back as he goes into the ultimate. Simplicity left side, trying to deal damage to the bird, can and won't. Genetics in trouble, jumps over the wall.
No way.
He'll be safe and sound. maniaKK, on the other hand, will not. Horizon Union defend again. And they shove Simplicity all the way back. No Phoenix is allowed. In fact, a respawn here. Horizon Union looking good.
They definitely can counter push now if they wanted to. And I like the idea that Simplicity had just in general of all-inning somebody. But I think the target was not Mr. Stefan that they needed to all-in. It's actually Echrome. Being 10-1-6 currently with this much player damage at this stage of the game, that's the real threat. It feels that the frustration factor out of Simplicity is seeing the Morrigan constantly start off the fight with a double stun. So they're thinking like, hey, if we engage on the Morrigan, we don't have to worry about the Morrigan engaging on us.
That mentality makes sense, but the Morrigan has the ability to go into the Pele, which has saved her the last 3, 4, 5 engagements.
And honestly, maniaKK needed to save that ultimate to be able to disengage, allow Genetics to be the one to, use all his buttons to get in there and just walk up to Mr. Stefan as maniaKK Osiris to Lord of the Afterlife. Because the cooldowns from Genetics is short enough that after everything was said and done and the dust settled, he had them back available for the disengage, but not Lord of the Afterlife, unfortunately.
Echrome is your target, largely because AMC is
It's
immobile.
Annoying, right? Because of the honey. Like, as annoying as Mr. Stefan is with a stun from his stealth, I think the honey makes it that little invisible wall that you don't want to cross of all that damage over time. And yes, because he is immobile, making it a little bit easier to lock down. But it becomes harder knowing that there's a Khepri right beside him to assist.
Echrome and Markus are the 2 guys that I think Simplicity need to start focusing. Those are the 2 players that I think have provided a lot. We see the player damage right there from Echrome. Markus, though, has been doing a very good job at disrupting the backline. His player damage is not all that high, but he's jumping in, he's getting these knockups, he's zooming around, and he's distracting the carries from the objective, whether that's the Phoenix itself, the team fight, perhaps another player. Markus is just running around, kind of just, like I said, being a decoy unit.
The one pick that he had onto DeathPanter, I think, just shut down Simplicity's chances of ending the game after that, I believe, second Fire Giant or so. Simplicity just can't find their footing after the Fire Giant. They have 5 Fire Giants in 50 minutes of play, and they still can't figure out the correct way to end the game. Now, not to say Simplicity are doing it incorrectly, because it's not a very clear answer as to how to approach the defense penetration out of Horizon Unit, because they have a good measures of making it difficult, right? Like the defensive saves that the Khepri has, the offensive from Mr. Stefan, Markus with the flank. Terror to follow up with his Fatal Strike executes once all the damage has been done. The damage mitigation from the Rising Dawn. There's so many tools at Horizon's disposal, and they're using it to its absolute fullest.
Well, right now, Simplicity are looking for another tool. The Fire Giant. One more time. No contests from Horizon Union. So almost an hour of play. We're 10 minutes short. And 40 kills split down the middle. The gold, irrelevant, but Simplicity has led this game for the majority of time. Before the last, what could be the last siege, let's take a look at the charts. And you can see Simplicity has just drawn themselves in this direction. But Horizon Union has been this consistent pushback.
That's a big gold lead to have, 18,000. That's more than the 3K potions for each and every single one of these players. And that could be actually the difference of victory now.
Let's see if that's going to be the case. Simplicity right side. Mid Phoenix, the only one that has fallen, so that'll be a little bit easier for the teams to look at. Every time you hear that noise, Simplicity will back up.
The hairs in your neck kind of stand up.
And Morrigan just lurking around some corner. Ghost style. Who's got the salt? Right side, Simplicity. Genetics is in front, looking for the moment of opportunity. Blink available, but we'll just jump on in. Faeles going to use the ultimate as well. There's a pull in. And the answer back from Mr. Stefan. Simplicity far away this time, though, and can't get chained up. Wonderful adaptation. maniaKK does get grabbed, but not a care in the world. He'll drag Khepri out with him. The rest of the team will look at the burn. Right side, Phoenix, history.
The priority was to try to defend the Phoenix, but it's too little, too late. Now Terror forced to use that Fatal Strike defensively. maniaKK gonna get pulled back in, but the Panther is doing the damage.
Zigzag shows up. No more props for you. Echrome falls down. Double kill. Mr. Stefan on the wrong side of Daji's claws. maniaKK takes down the Khepri, and everyone will chase down Markus. Turn to the Titan, and that'll be game one. 52 minutes of play, and Simplicity take this one from Horizon Union.
It took 6 Fire Giant attempts, Tom, but honestly, that's all it matters at the end of the day. It doesn't matter if it ends in 20 minutes or 52 minutes worth of play. Simplicity got it done today.
Wonderful job there from Horizon Union, in all honesty. Simplicity, I think, have some stuff to go ahead and look back at. But at the end of the day, Horizon Union just showed up, played strong defense, and it took Simplicity a couple of moments to react and change. We'll take a look at the numbers here. And really, it tells the story when I see 10 kills for the mid laner.
It does, honestly. DeathPanter with great patience on the Krakens, finally saving his Kraken, not using it on that 6th Fire Giant. I was going to make note of that, funny enough. I've been seeing it every time, but that was the difference, I think, in that last siege as well. And it wasn't Echrome that they went on in the last fight. It was still Mr. Stefan. The difference is this time around is he had to disengage so far away that when he did transform into the Daji, no one besides maniaKK was in range of the pull.
Wonderful adaptation from Simplicity there, with Horizon Union showing exactly what a defensive set needs to look like. Show up, go ahead and provide some of the distance between you and the opponent, bite back, maybe even chase them down, steal objectives. Almost all that it took, but just not enough. Simplicity winds up in the lead. They've got 1-0. We'll be right back after this.
Respawn, the official gaming chair of the SMITE Minor League.
Welcome back to the SMITE Minor League after that grueling Game 1, and only Game 1. This could still potentially go 3 games here, Ryan. Simplicity do eventually end up getting there, but it took them so long. Why was this so difficult for them to close this out?
First of all, Echrome played so well in this AMC, consistently staying at a distance. To only take 2 deaths in 52 minutes is insane on a character like Muzen. But the lack of engagement and safe engagement, I would say, out of Simplicity. Yes, Genetics can blink in and kind of get the ball rolling, but in the late game, you don't expect his damage a whole lot. I mean, he already has the low-nose mask. You just have a difficult time engaging. Serqet very, very good at invading buffs and fighting in the early game. We saw Genetics do a great job in the early game of invading around speed, got the blue buff, all this kind of stuff, being generally annoying. But when it gets 50 minutes in, Serqet not a great team fighter, and I think that aspect of the comp that was lacking there for Simplicity really showed.
Yeah, they were a bit reliant, it felt like, on that dive potential that from the Serqet that worked so well early on. But, I mean, the more this Khepri gets online to be living through these fights, has relic daggers and cooldowns, and is going to be getting that ult off, the harder that stuff becomes. So I agree, Simplicity hit a bit of a wall, but they made it past it. Now the question becomes, can Horizon Union maybe try and build on that little bit of stalling they were able to show us in that first game and improve their Game 2 performance? Yeah,
that was impressive, and I'm excited to see what their comp is going to look like here. I mean, you have to make some sort of adjustment to not get so far behind like they did in that game. I think when you think about that game, you think of the 52 minutes, but in the early game, Simplicity was dominating.
Right.
And then Horizon Union kind of slowly claws their way back in. I'm not trying my chances on clawing my way back into another game against a team as good as Simplicity. Horizon Union need to have a better early game this time around.
We're going to take a look at banning away the Jormungandr right away. I mean, nothing particularly crazy made it through. The thing I think that probably the most backbreaking is Chronos making it through for StreakUp.
Yeah.
So just in terms of picks and bans, I don't think there's a ton that Horizon Union have to worry about changing in terms of taking away from Simplicity. I think it's more about giving themselves a little bit more presence in that early game.
I agree. I think that the bans were good. Yorm, Chernobog, and Merlin were Horizon Union's first 3 bans last time around. If you're going to be banning, if you're going to leave open anything, I think you're most likely to leave open that Chernobog or the Jormungandr. But with both of those taken off the table, Horizon Union decided to make me eat my words and ban away the Chronos there with that 3rd ban. This makes me wonder if they're going to pick Merlin first overall, give that over to Mr. Stefan, who's been playing in the long lane, very comfortable on mages, and keep that out of StreakUp's hands. I think that you can use this first pick as another pseudo ban.
I also wonder, though, I mean, with the way Echrome played, do you want to prioritize a Muzen here in that first spot yet again? I mean, he was a monster, and it looks like that's going to be the call. Echrome will grab the AMC, and he was able to stay very safe that game. He did an absurd amount of damage. It's just a question of capitalizing on that now. And I guess the question becomes, who do you like with a Muzen, I suppose, to make the best use of some of that pressure and get in lane?
Yeah, I wouldn't even be that mad at Mr. Stefan reprising the Morrigan. I mean, he made a lot of good plays on it in that game, so you kind of have these options. You just have to get a little bit better late game positioning. I think a couple times we saw players in the back line get caught out. Simplicity decided they don't want to deal with that Morrigan selection and end up taking it for themselves. And this is pretty wide open. Can go to DeathPanter in the mid lane, can still go to StreakUp in the long lane, and makes Horizon Union change something about their comp.
Yes, and Simplicity really don't have to worry too much about making the changes. It really is on Horizon Union to be the ones that make the adjustments, it feels like, as King Arthur comes through instead of the Achilles for Terrorem, I imagine. I don't know, the Achilles didn't excite me last game. Maybe this King Arthur can look a bit better.
I agree. I think that you do have an opportunity to make more plays on a god like King Arthur than Achilles. Yes, you have the potential to execute the entire enemy team, but we've only seen that happen like literally once. So I'm not really banking on that. King Arthur can get some nonsense going in his favor, especially with that Khepri back for Horizon Union.
Well, Horus picked up. I imagine this one's for Genetics. This does give him, I think, a little bit more range than the Serqet to be able to do stuff early game, just like Serqet does, but maybe be a little bit stronger late. It does, though, make me a bit worried if they fall behind. I always say that the Horus feels pretty bad if you're kind of behind.
Yep.
The ultimate's already pretty situational. You don't want to add even another condition onto that.
I agree, but I think Horus is exactly what Simplicity needed. We saw them have a great early game in Game 1, so you can count on something similar to that happening here in Game 2, and Horus pushes leads so well because he does deal relevant damage when ahead and has some of the best setup CC in the game, is great peel as well. I think that this Horus pick makes a lot of sense, and I like it here for Genetics.
Hunbat's ban from Simplicity. I'm a bit surprised by this. There was a little bit of a time in there I felt like Hunbat's was real flavor. We're seeing a lot more of him being picked up. He's kind of faded a little bit from there, but Fear No Evil is still just really, really good. I mean, it's just always true. I think his clear got helped a little bit recently as well, so it could be a little bit more viable. So that's probably why we saw a little bit more Hunbat's. Don't hate the ban here.
Markus is a player that has always loved Hunbat's during his time in the minor league. You take a look at the most banned gods against Horizon Union. Hunbat's right there, number 3. So you know that this is a god that Markus is comfortable with, and it's not that you only know it, it's that every team that Horizon Union is playing against seems to know it as well.
The Ao Kuang ban too, so both of these bans a bit aimed towards Markus. At this point, the Horizon Union, not as flexible as we often see, I feel like, at this point. I mean, it's pretty clear, I think, where all this stuff's going.
Sure.
So that's why Simplicity are taking a bit of an eye towards Markus. They're like, we have an idea. You don't have that jungler yet. We don't want to give you a lot of control. We don't want to give you a hyper carry.
Yeah, I think that this is totally fine, though. I mean, Horizon Union, yes, we know exactly where everything's going, but it's still good in that role. You know, it's not like we're settling for something that isn't top tier. Now you've got to round out your draft a little bit more, and Merlin does that pretty well, gives you some more AoE damage, which I do think you were lacking, and that just makes a lot of sense to me.
I'm just making sure Merlin was getting the 8th picked in 2019. Was
Yep.
all. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Alrighty. He's real good, guys.
And then Thor 9th
Well,
pick.
that's pretty good, right? It actually stopped me in my tracks. Like, okay, we get Thor and Merlin with our last 2 picks. I mean, yeah, that's good. If they're still there, take them, man. If you're in, if you're in the 4th round,
You got to get your value.
that's
pick,
right,
you know?
man. If Bell is still up there or Mahomes, take them.
Yeah, what did you take in the 4th round? Something bad.
No, I took really good stuff. You all can't. I'll make sure I update you all when I'm beating Ryan later on in Fantasy Football.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. That's all I'm going to say. Ratatoskr, early game focus. That's exactly what Simplicity's looking to do here. This comp is much more early game focused.
Scary, isn't it?
They're not going to try and get to that 52-minute mark where they're having trouble sieging. They're going to try and end the game quickly with this Ullr Ratatoskr Horus 3v3. It's a lot of physical damage, and Horizon Union can itemize against that pretty effectively, but you got Protection Shred. You've got enough, I think, on Simplicity's side that it could be tough to fight against.
And that same 3 combo, the Khepri, Merlin, Thor for Horizon Union, is certainly potent, but it might be getting online a little bit later, which could give Simplicity a bit of an avenue. Either way, we're about to find out. Game number 2 about to get underway. Are we in for another 50-minute barn burner? We're about to find out.
I'm ready and waiting. Here we go, man. Horizon Union versus Simplicity. Thank you one more time, John and Ryan, the best in the business. Tom and Tully here on the commentary. And, of course, Doug on the observation, as per usual. And as per usual, we've got a pretty damn good match, if you don't mind me saying. Simplicity taking almost an hour to grab that last one. Horizon Union ready to fight. And so with that in mind, I am ready for Horizon Union to come out swinging.
Ooh, Genetic's going to get abducted now. He's doing the same idea as he did on the Serqet, but a little harder to get the last hit as opposed to the Death Bane. You trying to utilize that Horus passive after the ability to get an extra basic attack in. Not enough quite yet. Markus, instead of opting to go to the right side of the map like last time on the Pele, goes for the left side red buff, trying to match what Faeles did, but this time Faeles switching it up to go on the right. And he's doing that off of the intel Genetics is relaying.
Genetics last time also missed a speed buff for what it's worth. But this allows Faeles to go for that blue buff invade, as you said, all off of the conversation from Genetics. Genetics' most used or most useful button in this entire early game was his push to talk key, not his ability key. That's his first ability, I think. Not that one. It's his push to talk if he uses it. It's really all about trying to find the communication to allow Faeles to enter this jungle. They clear up the big minion as well at the back heartbeats. They take out the blue buff. That's the win there just by words alone.
What if he has an open mic and he doesn't have push to talk?
You know, a lot of players do play with open mic, and like there's that, but I'm trying to instill in the player at home to use push to talk, because the player at home in my ranked games that doesn't use push to talk, I don't like.
Yeah, you hear them sipping their drink, munching on some snacks, picking their nose.
So there's the ranking of I think number one thing I don't want to hear is you chewing, like you
that's
just,
up there.
You just munching. But number two very quickly is the game. Like if I'm in the jungle and I start hearing Ares chains because your duo lane doesn't have push to talk on.
You know what's my number 2? Hearing my own stream in their background. That's happened before.
At least they're on your team, man.
That's true.
I would much rather my teammate be on my stream than my opponent. That's, hey, I was the Janus. Genetics blinking in here to make a play. Rocking up, and this is a 3-on-1. We could see it. First blood, maniaKK. First on the board, and again, on the Osiris. Wonderful play from him last time around. Why change it up? Markus, again, collapsed on 3 different players. He finds a way out.
Does he, though? Is the question. The beats is good enough, but the follow-up there as well. And taking the tier 2 tower shot, but the root gonna get avoided by a nice dash. Echrome gonna look for it from a distance.
Look at Panther.
Look at Terror actually trying to get the kill there. Misses the hamstring.
Oh, here comes Genetics. That's going to be enough knock up and lock up. And Faeles is gone. Genetics might pay for it, but if the support dies for the jungler, that's all well and good. It's a large if, though. Genetics stays alive. Still 2-0. And the great escape. My goodness.
You would think that not playing Serqet, it would be a little bit easier to kill Genetics, but nope. A little bit harder now on the Horus with those knockups. Great peels to save Faeles' life, and honestly, I think Markus did the right thing there. The way he positioned himself, he actually rotated his character model around so that way he can hammer for the last hit of the speed buff and teleport to safety.
Ooh, Mr. Stefan. Not the same as Mr. McQueen. He will go down. No escape for him there. 3-0 for simplicity as StreakUp gets the kill there on his own version of carry Morrigan. Love to see that.
You definitely do, as he's able to make those plays happen when it matters the most, and that's going to shut down this Merlin that was picked 8th actually in the draft. Faeles going to get taken for a little bit of a ride, but maniaKK going to be there when he lands.
Terror in trouble. No HP, no mana, and no life. Faeles. Kill number 4. 2-0-0 for the Ratatoskr. You heard the desk earlier talking about how important it was for this team to get off to an early start. And right there it is, you know, able to really make it happen. Mr. Stefan could go down for the second time in 1 minute. He'll escape this time. But Simplicity certainly leading on the early game prowess of this Ratatoskr selection and looking for any and every fight.
It's important, too, because that late game Khepri, I think, is what just stalled the game out for as long as it did, going 52 minutes. So as long as Simplicity can continue this kind of aggression and look for the repeated blue buff and red buff invades, it might not go 52 minutes this time, as long as Faeles can make the plays with that global pressure, or even just rotating around left or right side of the map. That rotation on the right side to kill Terror, unfortunate for the King Arthur, because I honestly think he wanted to use that Excalibur's Wrath not to hit anybody, but just for the distance that it covers to get closer to the safety of his tier 1 tower.
Unfortunately, no safety there this time around, so Horizon Union will trail by just short of 1,000. Simplicity still looking for some more. They've just been able to get the stuff. You know, stuff after the fact, so the objectives still have yet to come. That said, still an early game, so.
Yeah. Faeles invading those back right camps, now looking for the blue buff on top of it with all the pressure that maniaK's applied onto this solo lane. Despite Terror having the 1 level experience lead, it's simply because there's just more waves being shared on the right side. Triple splitting blue buff also for maniaKK kind of slows down his level growth, but it's still not enough of a lead, I think, for Horizon to lean on. Like, even half a level for a King Arthur is not going to exploit an Osiris in this solo lane.
Sure. Big damage out of Markus. DeathPanter losing nearly 40%, maybe even more than that.
That's only level 6 Thor. Barely anything completed, no penetration available quite yet. Still finishing off the Assassin's Blessing stacks. Level 6 on the Thor, so 3 points in his hammer. That 40% missing health is going to be like 70% once he's level 9.
Oof. That's so scary. I physically made a face. Like, yeah. And that Thor damage in that late early game, we divide the game into 3 spots. Divide those 3 spots into 3 more spots. The later stages of that early game, pretty much around now, the next 90 seconds or so, this is where Thor gets really scary when he's able to really punish you. Markus doesn't really punish Faeles there.
He gets at least all of those.
He gets his farm.
And that was simply because Faeles doesn't connect all 3 acorns to get the stun, thinking that his spin to win was going to go off, but then Markus not getting stun gets off his own stun. And this is the fun little matchup between 2 different junglers that do similar things.
The back and forth, yeah, for sure. DeathPanter here on the front side, Faeles on the back side. Echrome gets stunned out, the spin and the save. Khepri again goes for it. Ratatoskr has the ult, and DeathPanter's the one with the combo. Echrome goes down. Genetics.
No way.
Where we going? Where we going?
Where we
going?
dropping?
Where we going? Pop! Safety.
The threat was there, though. Everyone from Horizon Union were like, they can't be this crazy, can they?
Everybody's like, okay, come on, do it. Like, you're still charging?
Like a roller coaster ride.
where you're just going up the whole time, and you're like, okay, here it's gonna come, and then it like goes straight instead of down. You know what I mean?
No, I don't know, because honestly, I hate roller coasters.
The Knights recently got a chance to go to do a theme park. We were talking to them, and Dragon Con Skillshot was at Dragon Con this weekend. We got a chance to do a meet and greet with some of the players there, and Ro was talking to us about how the Pro League team, the Pittsburgh Knights, were able to go to a theme park, and Deathwalker on a roller coaster is very funny, apparently.
They released that video, right?
Yeah.
I need to go check that one out.
Oh, man, that was certainly a good look. The Pro League team's having a ton of fun. Of course, our Pro League airs every Thursday and Friday. Same channel as here. Right now, Simplicity fighting for a chance to maybe stick it to those teams as they find themselves towards the top end of the minor league. Like you said, our top 2 minor league teams will go ahead and qualify for a chance to play against the big boys. Big qualifications there. And our own dream hack in November. Faeles here, looking at Markus, and Markus will look to the sky and get out of there easily. So for Horizon Union, down 1,000 gold plus, where do they go? Do they just continue to play their game and not really worry about the 1,000 gold? Or is it time for them to start doing something?
It's probably time to start leaning on this left side. You got a mage versus a mage in the long lane. The first jungler to make that rotation should swindle it in the other's favor quite heavily, honestly. But looks like there's some action in mid.
A little bit of a fight here. Yeah, let's call it a tussle.
Yeah, more of a tussle than actually a throwdown.
Ooh, nice little blink play from Genetics, but he's off the mark. And everybody's on mark as Markus falls down but fails. Ooh, gets out with the ultimate. The rest of the squad here responding down low. And that'd be that. Nice disengage. Fire Giant shows up.
The timing of that stun from Faeles.
Yeah.
Point blank reaction time. Markus, if he gets off like another tick of that Berserker's Barrage, I think Faeles dies there from another basic attack, but also Markus could have probably preemptively beatsed before spinning to winning, expecting that to be the case of the stun, but instead he goes down, and then the reaction time to instantly ult Faeles like, all right, I got the kill, that's all I wanted, let's see if I get out now. Goes on his own roller coaster ride back to the solo lane to farm.
Echrome, such a big part of what happened last game for Horizon Union. Pretty quiet in the early stages, still building his transcendence. I always say the game doesn't begin until you finish your stacking item.
Sure.
Gank me all you want before my Devo gloves are done. Once I'm stacking, that's when it kind of hurts to die because I want my stacks online.
And for StreakUp to get this now, he's been pretty much uncontested in the farming category. No one really making their presence in the long lane. It truly is the solo lane this game.
Yeah.
With global junglers, mind you. Couldn't be my rank game, by the way.
No?
I would be ganked all over the place.
Oh, yeah?
I'd be under my tower, 4-man ganked.
Everybody wants a piece of the action, totally.
Hashtag focus the streamer. That's what it is.
Well, all 10 players are streaming here. So everybody should get focused, right?
Are they all streamers?
No, they're streaming right now.
Oh,
like
okay.
we're live, so I mean they got
thought you
people looking at them.
I thought you meant like if they are streamers.
Oh no. I know a number of the guys on Simplicity actually do wind up putting their stream up pretty often. It's always fun to see. Mr. Stefan, also a community member in his own right. Some newer members surrounding him on the Horizon Union, and I like that look too. I think it's very fun watching a team like Simplicity with all these staples of the scene, but Horizon Union largely Mr. Stefan and friends, and I think that's a cool look as well. Kind of reminds you of old school Smite, where it was, you know, you'd have Rafa and friends, and then that turned into what the team we know now, right? So, an interesting, 2 different approach. Genetics looking for a big approach onto Markus.
Oof. All that damage. Couldn't handle it quite yet. This glass cannon build out of Markus, and that's going to open the window for Simplicity to go for an objective.
Yeah, that one, half HP on the gold already, and nobody in position to really stop it. So Simplicity get the first objective. Objective-minded, as always. Game number 1, 90% of objectives went in their direction as well. Game number 2, Totem of Coup actually a little bit different. Terrorem has done a good job of maintaining control here, and Horizon has had 4 out of the 7 totems that we've seen on the solo side. But the Gold Fury, all Simplicities for sure. That pushes them up, 3,000 gold in the lead.
A much cleaner game also coming out of Simplicity, and that's simply because they were able to escape more. They were still aggressive the same exact way they were in that first game, but the problem was now they're able to disengage with the Horus, with the Ratatoskr. StreakUp with a solo kill also earlier on is a big factor to take note of.
There's a 3v3 in the mid. I think we will get a disengage. I wanted to ask you a question about the solo lane. Markus one more time will find himself the target. Genetics dies to the dots. Markus has the luxury of the Khepri helping him out. Faeles going to the sky. Easy for StreakUp. Faeles still in the sky. Waiting for Thor to land, but won't. Instead lands on the backside. Meanwhile, the rest of everybody else comes. StreakUp with a double kill. And Simplicity looking good right now. StreakUp finally in some trouble here as he's isolated. Thor, 3 levels down, but it's the rotation from Terrorem that makes the difference. King Arthur all the way from the short side with the double.
But now maniaKK trying to make something happen in his own right, not having that Lord of the Afterlife, but he's going to be able to get the stun off. Mr. Stefan will ultimately fall. Both solo laners putting a staple on that team fight.
Beautiful play. Beautiful play by Terrorem, making the rotation there from that short side. That's what changed the fight.
It definitely did. I thought that the double Ratatoskr ultimates were about to like really start controlling the team fight, but great save from the Khepri onto Markus right before he dies, still getting off enough damage to allow Echrome to get the kill onto Genetics, but I think Echrome got a little bit too rambunctious when he went back in to pick up his Stinger.
Sure, yeah, just a little bit too much there, I think is a correct statement. The Stinger is such a trap.
It is.
15 seconds with some good CDR.
It's 80% CDR when you pick it up.
And so, oh man, you can sting somebody and then wait 10 seconds and sting them again. Yeah, I'm all for it.
It's like about 18 to 20 seconds, but
you got to walk into that trouble. And sometimes you get away with it, other times you don't. Can definitely be a little bit problematic. So Echrome kind of taking the bait there. 2 deaths for him in the mid lane. 4 for the jungler, though. Echrome might find his 3rd death here as Faeles blinks up on top. Both rats in the sky. Perfect timing. And StreakUp gets Echrome. There's the knock up onto the Khepri, and that's going to be an issue. DeathPanter charging forward with a stun available. StreakUp with a double kill, and there's Faeles with a kill of his own. 5-1 and 5 for the UK jungler. Great job, Danny Phantom. As Simplicity leading 14-3 in just 16 minutes.
Yeah, this is getting a little out of control now if you're a Horizon Union fan trying to get your boys back into this game, as the defense last time around was also because of the way Mr. Stefan played the Morrigan. But now he doesn't have access to that same option. Going for the Merlin has a lot of AoE damage control, but he's not at that power spike yet, Tom. He's going for the Shaman's Ring, sitting at 14 stacks. He doesn't have the Gem of Isolation for the utility style, and it's going to be a while before he gets his true damage available once he finishes off that Op Shard.
Pyro, easy. Terror thinking about it. Didn't have the power. This King Arthur does better in this mid-game stage. Simplicity looking for the objectives. There's going to be a lot of clumped up team fights, and that's kind of where King Arthur really stretches his stuff. So I'm eager to see what Terror is able to do in the next 5 minutes, because I also think the next 5 to 10, 5 to 7 more likely, are going to be the pivotal moments of this game. This is where Simplicity explodes and transitions from a 5K lead to an 11K lead, or where Horizon Union answers back, takes an Oni, takes a good fight, and ties it up.
I agree. It's up to Terror on this King Arthur, now having Blink available to make the plays happen. make it harder for StreakUp to go into the Ratatoskr on his own accord. Same way that Simplicity tried to go onto Mr. Stefan in the late game is how Horizon Unit need to go onto StreakUp to prevent the Morrigan from engaging onto them. But the level disparity is starting to show.
There's the pull in and Simplicity looking for the jump. Backside, Faeles goes for the flank and misses it. Now everybody looking at him, but here comes help from the other Ratatoskr. StreakUp looking great on top of the Khepri. Pause. There's the Khepri ult. Markus on the backside looking to take care of the back line. But oh, he of little faith. He gets out of there. And Simplicity wind up empty-handed. They don't lose anything, but they don't really gain anything. That said, Oni Fury, all the space in the world created. Simplicity can likely look towards there. Will they have any distraction?
I mean, Terror could still look for something. Doesn't have Blink available, though. Available is that Sundering Strike to at least stun Genetics, but at what good is that going to do when there's no other follow-up? Resetting it now, going on the King Arthur, and he misses the dash.
Look at how Simplicity are fighting against King Arthur. That's beautiful. They collapse on him for some CC, spread out so he can't Glad Shield heal, and then collapse one more time, but Echrome show up after the fact and puts down maniaKK. They don't even get the King Arthur. I love the way they played it, totally, but Horizon Union was waiting to punish.
They split all the DPS, Tom. They went around the opposite side of that little building, the sunken colony there, as they couldn't confirm it. The 180 sustained from the Glad Shield out of Terror was too much. The damage mitigation from Spirit's Robe, 15% damage mitigation after being CC'd for a couple of seconds. Criminally underpurchased item.
Everyone I speak to that knows what they're talking about says this.
It like the internal cooldown of Spirit's Robe proc is 15 seconds. You can get that 15% damage mitigation every 15 seconds, as opposed to, let's say, an Oni's Hunter's Garb that gives you 9% damage mitigation on a conditional if you're surrounded by 3 players. Give me the Spirit's Robe every time.
Every time?
Yeah.
I think there's room for both. I think Oni's Garb really works when I'm a character dedicated to being in the middle of everything, right? Characters like Sun Wukong come to mind. Characters like Cucullin come to mind. But I think Spirit Robe is absolutely an item that you want to buy when you look across the way and you go, man, I'm going to get Morrigan stunned. Her whole deal is to kill me after I get stunned. I'm going to get DeathPanter comboed. The whole deal is to get damage after the axe. I'm going to get Faeles. I'm gonna get knocked up by somebody's Ratatoskr. Sure. I don't know whose rat it is, but they're gonna, And so with that in mind, that's why I like the Spirit Robe here, because it's Simplicity diving Horizon. So you're not always surrounded by enemies, but you're always gonna get crowd control.
Yeah, you just have to survive that initial burst damage, and now Abduct has been used. StreakUp looking for Markus, gets the stun off, but the chase is gonna be on now.
Markus one more time, and Khepri waiting there. Oh, Genetics triggers it. But here comes the rest. StreakUp lands on 2. Knockup is good. Spin is better. Down goes Markus. StreakUp with the rat transformation. Double kill on top of it. A brief pause as StreakUp gets hit by the ultimate out of Terror, but the rest of the team is here and waiting. StreakUp taking the damage and might fall. Terror, 1 kill so far. Faeles goes down. Terror, 2 kills so far. Genetics from a distance cuts him down.
maniaKK now in a little bit of trouble, trying to do whatever he can. He gets off the damage, but DeathPanter leaves his soul laner to die right as Mr. Stefan was about to fall. Oh.
maniaKK doing his best King Arthur impression there.
He tried, but yeah, only King Arthur can do King Arthur.
The healing from the Glad Shield obviously keeping maniaKK alive just a little bit. And that looked like the moment.
It did.
I thought we were going to see a quadra kill.
Another kind of variety play there. Yeah, I definitely saw like all the plays just unravel in my mind. Good idea from Simplicity to pop the Khepri ultimate onto Markus before going in the sky. He's looking for it. He could steal this.
Oh, he just might. He might just kill Echrome here. Here it is. Here's the 3-1 combo. Pop, pop! Simplicity takes it away.
You gotta love it if you're an Ullr fan. That's what it's all about. I thought for a moment that he was about to like show off his shoulder around that corner as he was peeking, because you don't need to really peek that deep. No. You just need a little bit there, but he does need to be close enough so that way the bladed arrow is not going to get hit by the wall.
Exactly. Nice play there. DeathPanter taking away the Gold Fury. That's a big one, too. Remember how we said the next 5 to 7 minutes, it's going to really spread the map as far as gold is concerned. If Horizon Union don't get that stolen, this is a 2,000 to 3,000 gold game.
Sure. Because
they even it up. Horizon Union go to 55, 56. Simplicity is at 58, 59. And that's a tenable lead. Now, Simplicity with the steal and the minor objective of the Pyro, it's a 6,000 gold lead. Still, again, something you can fight into, Toli, but not at all what Horizon Union would like to look at.
As you would say, it's coming up all Millhouse for Simplicity, trying
Pretty
to
much
maintain their lead that they got. Still playing aggressive no matter what with all of their picks. This early game transition, though, needed, I think, to be more at this point in the game as we're in the 23-minute mark, because I still think that Horizon could still stall out this game for a very long time. Their coordination of the long-range setup, Thor stun, AMC damage, Merlin damage, Khepri control.
Ooh. Frenzy's popped. Simplicity are all in here. Faeles isn't even available. The rest of Horizon Union, though, are here. Thor trailing. Honestly, if I'm HU, I grab this.
They did. They
Yeah,
actually
Mr.
using a frenzy of their own.
There it is. Horizon Union take the Fire Giant and take down maniaKK. This is a great play for HU. Thor to nowhere. StreakUp is forced into the sky. Faeles not being there was a problem.
Yeah, not the correct call at the end of the day. Now DeathPanter's back got stopped by Terror, now trying to run away in a 1v3.
Oh, man. See you later. That. You ever watch one of those, we were talking about theme parks before, those pirate ships that swing like a grandfather clock pendulum?
Okay.
That's what just happened. Horizon Union, Simplicity swing. Oh, we're awesome. We steal an objective. We got a minor one. And then smack, we get it stolen and we get killed lazy backing. Right side Phoenix, Horizon trying to swing into there. All the momentum in the world. Halfway dead already. StreakUp in trouble. Genetics controlling Terror. That's Terror on the good side. The right side Phoenix is toasted. 25 minutes in. Simplicity has ran this. Horizon Unit grab it, and they tie the game.
I think it took 32 minutes until we finally saw the first Phoenix go down in the first game after 3 Fire Giant attempts. Whereas all it took was 1 out of Horizon Unit, not even 25 minutes in. Different changing of pace, being able to make those plays happen off of the pick. Horus ultimate.
Not enough.
Can't chase him down. I think he could have looked for the dash and the knock-up there, but it would have been really frisky with Faeles being a little bit too far away on the right side. But I got to agree with you earlier, Tom. Faeles being on the left side and also Simplicity going for the Fire Giant. Somewhere along the lines, whether it was the call or the idea to split push, was incorrect.
Which even so, because sometimes you can't make that plan. Faeles is just pushing up a lane and then Simplicity go, oh, smokes, we have an opportunity for Fire Giant. And you take that. If that's the case, I want to see Faeles immediately start making over there. He won't be there for fire, but he'll be there to counteract what just happened. And so the decision is one of those things where sometimes in life the decisions or something doesn't work out, and I don't care who messed it up. Pointing fingers is just another time-wasting activity. Let's fix it. So that's Simplicity going, oh, we got to do Fire Giant. Faeles here in the wrong spot. I don't care if Faeles was told to push or Faeles made that decision himself. That's not what I care about. What I care about is after the fact, Faeles needs to make it over there. And that's where that communication breakdown happens. Horizon Union are pushing because of that.
Yeah, with this lead, I mean, he tried to make it over, but he wasn't in time. He saved his ultimate for the defense of the right side Phoenix instead, which I think was the better call at that point because he was going to be super late to the party. Like, there's fashionably late, and then there's like, yeah, everyone's gone, my dude.
Yeah, you can show up to the function at 10:30 p.m. You can't show up at 1 a.m. Like,
it's like, dude, I'm sleeping. Everyone left an hour ago.
We got work tomorrow, man. It's 1 in the morning. What are you doing? Faeles coming through like, oops.
It's like my watch broke.
I brought a 12-pack. There's 8 left.
Pre-gaming real hard, I see.
Horizon, the ones having a party at the moment, though. 2,000 gold up, and what a swing it was. They lost game number 1, but as Tully and I mentioned, they hung on, they played really good defense, and they had moments where they looked really strong. And this is a team where historically, I mean, you know, past couple of weeks, phase 1, phase 2, that hasn't really been their nom de plume hasn't been Superman necessarily. So going up against Simplicity, a team that has been on top, tall task,
Yep.
they're answering the call.
I agree. Horizon Union are definitely looking like a much better team since their previous week's performance. Maybe something happened in the bye week that certainly gave them more confidence, whatever they were practicing in the scrims, and it seems to me that it's the late game idea. The Muzen for the control around the defense, and the Khepri is a big factor. Now, what's going to happen if Astyaniax doesn't get the Khepri?
Sure.
Are they still going to go for a defensive mindset? Are they going to go for the Gab, a Kumbhakarna? How do they play it around there? If I'm Simplicity and we lose game 2, I'm probably looking at this Khepri pick.
Same. I'm definitely looking at Khepri. It's been very, very powerful. The AMC has gone to Echrome both games. Game number 1, Echrome was dominating the player damage as well. The Thor didn't work early on. He got jumped on 0-5, 0-4 before we entered the later stages of the game. Now I think we've seen a much better approach. I don't really care if he dies. He just shows up and sets the initiation with the stun. The build, a little bit more aggressively focused with shifters at the Titan's main, but the Void Shield is where I want to be. Even the shifters is kind of where I want to be, honestly. Horizon Union with control of the Fire Giant pit, but just barely. Simplicity definitely willing and waiting to fight into it.
Good Faeles' build, actually. The Mystical Mail, something we don't see very often, and more importantly, something we don't see on junglers, for that matter. This is normally kind of a solo lane style build, but he's the one trying to get up the dots.
Thor goes up. StreakUp should be the target, but he'll jump away. Thor's still up. Lands down. With that ult on cooldown, Simplicity might take advantage of it.
Trying to go for it, but this is kind of what was the downfall earlier from Simplicity when they were the ones trying to force out that Fire Giant. Now, granted, StreakUp isn't present, so it would be technically a 5-on-4 if Horizon were to keep pushing forward, but Faeles pushing out the wave, leaving the question to be answered of how Horizon approaches this one.
Still worried about it. Khepri's low. That could be a move. Genetics on the left side, DeathPanter on the right, playing it safe. maniaKK, the one getting aggressed on. One more time, the retreat from Horizon Union going to be disrupted by Faeles, knocked up, and the stun is good enough to chase out the Khepri ult. All-out retreat from Simplicity after that. Faeles a little deep, but definitely wants to get on out of there. That was all just for the Khepri ult.
That's all that was required, honestly, because now anyone from Simplicity can just dive freely. Horizon Union needed to play more defensively. They took so much time trying to do that Fire Giant, Tom. It was like, if you're not going to do it after a 5-on-4, when are you going to do it, right? Faeles split pushing in the middle lane. It really left Horizon Union confused as to what the correct idea was. Should they worry about the split push, or should they worry about the Fire Giant objective, as Faeles anticipated the Fire Giant buff to actually have been started earlier.
Sure.
So once they did see the disengage, that was a smart idea to go onto the Khepri.
Well, 30 minutes in here, folks. Horizon Union and Simplicity banging helmets. It's a 3,000 gold lead for Horizon, as they were able to snatch away a Fire Giant just 5-10 minutes ago from Simplicity. Up until that point, Simplicity had largely taken it, put it in a box, wrapped it up, put a bow on it, put it under its arm, and was walking home with a new present. But Horizon Union just kind of yoinked it away, quite literally. They steal the Fire Giant away, and they take the right side Phoenix. Has respawned since. But really, the story was just in the experience and the gold that they were to answer back in that exchange. Now, for all intents and purposes, a tied game here, Tully. What breaks it open?
It's got to be the engage from Markus, right? It's not even the Anvil of Dawn. It's like that good stun engage. Because the same way he stunned out StreakUp earlier on, that forced him to go into the rat ult.
There's a little bit of initiation. The wall's good. That'll keep maniaKK on this side of things. Genetics. That dash goes over walls. That is certainly something to keep in mind with respects to Markus and his isolation techniques.
But look at Faeles split pushing yet again. This time will go uncontested. After he clears the wave, his own wave should be able to get that tier 2 tower. StreakUp gonna go use the rat ultimate, but he misses out on Echrome.
maniaKK in trouble. He's gonna be taken to the sky and likely put underground. Big damage out of Terror. And it's kill number 11 for Horizon Union. Faeles picks up a tier 2 tower, but the rest of Horizon looking at the Fire Giant. Terror's gonna back, making this a 3-on-4. Genetics backing off.
I mean, this is what you need to do. Distract all the eyes out of Horizon Union and give Faeles an opportunity to make this flank play. The delayed tactics from both of these teams in games 1 and 2 have been pretty good, I'd say, to stop either the Phoenix Sieges or the Fire Giants. That should have been a clean FG from Horizon, but instead, Faeles and Genetics distracting all of them.
One more time, the full reset. Simplicity won't back to the fire. They'll back off. Oni Fury, though, for Horizon, that's a big deal. Simplicity will have to deal with these waves, which might open the door for Horizon to look towards the Fire Giant for free.
That's right. After the 30-minute mark, you're looking at 3 big Gladiator minions. So if any of these towers, the middle tower rather, or the 3 Phoenixes after the fact, are left unchecked, those Gladiator minions and those archers are just going to melt it. It's like having almost 2 entire waves. Actually, it is. It doubles up your health and damage.
It's crazy.
2 and 1.
Oni Fury, one of the more powerful ones when it comes to late game. Great at breaking up these stalemates. When you look at what are they going to do? They're staring at each other at Fire Giant.
Yeah.
If the Oni Furies are if the Oni Fury minions are marching down the map, and you're staring at each other at Fire Giant, well, the minions are going to win the game. They can actually win the game. You and I have casted games where Oni Furies have taken multiple Phoenixes.
Where regular minion waves or regular fire waves have been able to take out Phoenixes or even Titan guilds.
Yeah.
So the addition of an Oni wave makes it even more easier, I guess. But what about an Oni fire wave? That would be danger.
Fire Giant started, and the girdle going to be popped. An all-in from Horizon. Thor up in the sky. They're looking for the fight, not the objective. Genetics grabbed and snagged Mr. Stefan with the damage. Maniac in trouble, chased over the wall. Terror trying to chase down DeathPanter. Maniac will exit up north. DeathPanter will exit up on the northeast side. And the Fire Giant started one more time.
Faeles had to split push the left side to get that Oni wave. StreakUp looking to be annoying on the flank side, goes into the Ratatoskr. Echrome misses out on the Stinger, but 2 rats in the sky.
Fire Giant 25%, leashed up. Echrome in trouble. The double rat, not good. Markus puts him in a trap. And StreakUp won't get the cheese. Fire Giant being let go of. Faeles also being let go of. And Horizon Union one more time refocuses on the EFG.
I think this time around they will secure it unless Maniac can say something about it.
He certainly can. Maniac's here and available. Ultimate online, jumps on top, still can't get it. Now goes down. Echrome number 14. Maniac out for a minute plus, and StreakUp down for half as well. Horizon Union, Fire Giant in hand, looking towards the weakened Phoenix. The Phoenix should be easy, but what else?
Looking for the stun onto Genetics. DeathPanter will get stunned and taken out by the
Down.
Berserker Barrage. Markus trying to survive using the Aegis will get chased down by Faeles as he will sacrifice his life in the process.
That's got to be it. Genetics the only one alive. StreakUp's going to be up in a moment. But the right side bird goes down. Horizon Union forced into the throne room. Frenzy means fight. A little bit of distraction from Genetics, but it's halfway dead already. The defense is there. StreakUp provides some of it. 10%, 5%, and it's gone. Horizon Union. Mr. Stefan with the last bit of damage there. Making it happen and bringing us to a game 3.
What a play from Horizon Union. Being able to steal away that Fire Giant at 25 minutes into the game and getting that right side Phoenix really started to open the map, because every single time Faeles was forced to split push on the left side from especially that last team fight around Fire Giant where he had to defend that Oni wave, it was problematic for Simplicity to just group up in a timely manner.
Great identification, I think, of Horizon Union to find their right moments. The numbers, as we take a look at them, are pretty much on the side of Simplicity. But it was just a couple of moments where Horizon were able to just kind of pick up all the jacks and throw them right back in the face.
I mean, they were up 7-0, 5,000 or so golds at 12 to 14 minutes, something like that, but they still couldn't close it out. Yet again, they have a wonderful early game, is Simplicity, but they just can't seem to translate that into any mid-game success.
Sometimes it can be tough. I mean, here it was really just a lack of cohesion Faeles consistently away from the team, which seemed to be a direction. That was a call, that was a choice, and it just didn't work out this time. Maybe it'll work out the next time because we're taught someone's got to win game 3. We'll be right back with that one.
Skillshot, the official production partner of the SMITE Minor League.
You cannot afford to get up at the beginning of these games because apparently things are just changing. I mean, this was Simplicity way out in front in this game, even more than game 1, I want to say.
Yep.
And still, Horizon were able to fight their way back in.
Yeah, maybe you should get up during the early game because apparently it hasn't really mattered so far. Both these games have turned drastically towards the mid-game. Look, Simplicity just takes 2 back-to-back bad fights. They dive all the way down past the Tier 2 towers by the back Harpies on the left-hand side. They get punished heavily for that. And they come back and they go to Fire Giant, and they seem to be on different pages.
Yeah.
You know, half the team wants to stay on it, half the team does not. Horizon Union walks in, steals away the Fire Giant, and ultimately steals away the win. Horizon Union was in control from that moment forward.
Yeah, I mean, and a couple things stick out to me, too. First, I don't know if Echrome can be allowed to continually have this Muzen comp. That's twice in a row. I think he's led the player damage charts and just had a monster performance on it. And then also, Simplicity seemed really reliant on this Morrigan Ratatoskr combination where they would ult at the same time and try and fluster Horizon Union. And I do think it got a little bit worse as the game went on.
Yeah, I think back to a fight where StreakUp gets a little bit picked on the right-hand side, clearing a wave. He ults, transforms into Ratatoskr, and he gets out at the exact same time that maniaKK goes in, and it ends up in a bad fight. It just feels like Simplicity is not on the same page today. The communication is not there.
We'll see if they can make the adjustments in game number 3. The picks and bans should be ready here for you for some big-time adjustments to be made. And Simplicity, that is the adjustment. They'll be in the first pick spot this time. I believe Horizon Union were first picked the first 2 games.
Yep.
So that could kind of shake things up just by itself. We'll see if Horizon Union are able to get the Muzen comp this time, since they have to wait.
That's true. Maybe Simplicity end up first picking it away from them. Certainly wouldn't blame them with the way this game has gone. You're right, Echrome has been very good on that Muzen comp, but I'm looking at the Khepri pick for Horizon Union.
Yeah,
that Simplicity should probably be taking away. Multiple times in the late game, maniaKK or Genetics would get plucked in, and just during that abduct CC duration, they're dead, even as a front liner. That Khepri has been causing too many problems. I'd like to see Simplicity look at that, maybe even before the AMC.
These bans all fairly standard. Yorm, Chernobog, Isis, Zhongqi. You don't want to deal with any of these guys. I imagine Merlin still wants to come through. You know what we haven't been seeing much of at all lately is Erlong Shen. I still do think he's plenty strong and could be picked up, but not been valued here.
I completely agree with you. Erlong, it just seems like teams either don't pick Erlong at all or like top 2 of them.
Yeah, they auto pick him, right?
There's no in between, it feels like, which does feel a little bit odd. You're right, I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of it here from either of these sides. I think it can be very potent still in support or in jungle.
Well, AMC is open, as he has been all along. The only difference, though, is that Horizon Union are not the ones in that first pick spot, so it's Simplicity that grab it. Now, Merlin is here available for the counter pick, but we got to see what Echrome can do aside this AMC.
Yeah, I agree. I think Merlin is where you're looking. I think Horizon Union, you take the Khepri now so the Genetics doesn't have a chance to take it away from you. Maybe you go back towards something in the jungle that works a little bit better. The Pele I thought was better for Markus, even in a losing effort. The Thor fell behind very early. A lot of that is the Ratatoskr pressure, but still, we needed to see a bit more there.
Wow, Morrigan and Khepri taken, which means now the Merlin and the Muzen comp can be on the same squad. If you put the Muzen comp in the middle lane, Merlin can certainly go into the long lane just fine and farm up from there. I think Simplicity have that and then another pick of their choice, which could be the Osiris here.
Yeah, I agree. I think you go Osiris, Merlin in this spot. Maybe you want to get something here for genetics, but I don't think you're necessarily super excited about a jungle pick. They went dodgy against similar picks from Horizon Union earlier, but I like this idea instead. You need something. I mean, you've gone aggressive both games so far for your genetics, right? It's been Serqet and it's been Horus. Give him the Geb and let him sit a little bit further back. Now you just need to make sure you have enough engage to make this Geb worthwhile.
It's surprised, but it looks like this gamble pays off for Horizon Union. They don't have to worry about giving up the Merlin now at this point, as Ullr comes in to give them a ton of pressure in that matchup. Now, it is likely to be the Ullr gets a Muzen Cobb, so I think that cuts into what you normally want from your Ullr mid. He's not going to be able to bully the AMC quite as easily, but certainly could still be potent.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is still fine. I mean, I'm just a little bit worried so far based on what we've seen from both of these sides. There isn't a great Morrigan transform quite yet. Horizon Union might not be able to rely on Simplicity picking something like Dodgy or Ratatoskr or Hun Batz. Instead, you need to get something on your own side that you're willing to transform into if Simplicity's not going to take it on the second half of their draft.
Still no concern about that Ullr I mentioned, or rather the Merlin I mentioned. It's Ullr that's been banned out here by Horizon Union instead. And maybe Horizon Union have a bit of a read on this, as they didn't pick it for themselves. They didn't seem concerned that it was going to go, and now I'm banning away this Ullr. They might have a bit of a read on what Simplicity want here.
Yeah, it seems like Simplicity's a little bit less willing to take that Merlin early on. They've been first picking Merlin throughout all of Phase 1 for StreakUp a lot of the time. And they won't ban it away, will Horizon Union, so they go with the Dodgy. So it's certainly open now for Simplicity. It's just a matter of if they want it or not.
It's so interesting. You were talking about how Dodgy would be such a good target for the Morrigan to turn into, but it looks like they value not having to deal with it on the other side even more than potentially having a Morrigan on the map that they could copy over onto their own side. So a bit surprising. Right now, though, this Ullr feels like the only one that's early game focused. So Horizon kind of are at this precipice. Do we want to lean more into that or kind of let Ullr carry us there and lean away from it?
You got options in that regard. I think Ratatoskr's still a good pick for Horizon Union this time around. Just try and copy what Simplicity did in the early game. Just don't throw, kind of. It could be the blueprint laid out for Horizon Union. Achilles still not a great transform target, and Terror played way better on that King Arthur. Obviously, that gets banned by Simplicity, but this is not encouraging to me through these first 4 picks for Horizon Union.
Yeah, I've been a bit surprised by these picks all around, really, from Horizon Union, but it's clear that there is a preference for these 2 picks, the Achilles or the King Arthur, there for Terrorem. So if that's where his comfort zone is, I'm not going to ask them to change it up on game day. Meanwhile, Simplicity, they'll take an 8th pick Merlin, why not, to add to their draft.
And now they just need something for Faeles in the jungle. You've got plenty of options here. I'm still tempted to go with something that isn't great for the Morrigan, something that leans a little bit more heavily on the overall kit than necessarily just the ultimate. Mercury comes to mind as a god that I think could fit Faeles' playstyle pretty well and give you a good assassin while not giving away a great transformation target.
You don't have to try and sell me on Mercury here right now, okay? It's
well,
like, I'm
Fitz,
not
you can't buy Golden Blade.
I understand that. It makes me miserable, and yeah, it's fine. Whatever.
Okay.
Mercury would be a great fit here, says my chair too. Fine. Yeah, I trust
Mercury good.
Mercury is certainly still okay, but not as good as he used to be. But there's a lot open to them. I mean, Batz is banned out. I don't know if it was in this set or if that was in set 1. But he's another one that feels really good. Maybe you worry about giving them a Morrigan target, but he provides a lot of control. Instead it'll be the Susano. That's that level 7, 8, 9 pointer or so, but Susano when he's online is so difficult to deal with.
Completely agree. It's not a horrible transform for the Morrigan, but it's not a top tier one, so I like it. Merlin's still a pretty decent transform anyways, so you're not taking away too much, I would say, but you're not also providing too much for Mr. Stefan, who I imagine will be piloting this Morrigan. Simplicity, good AoE control with this composition.
Yes.
A little bit worried about their engage later on in the game. How are they going to get these fights started? Genetics probably going to have to go Blink and go for those Blink Cataclysms. Otherwise, they could be lacking in that department.
Might be a lot then placed onto Faeles' shoulders as well. Susano can be a decent initiator. And I think that he's kind of in between. With Khepri can sometimes feel bad going too heavily dive because he exactly counters that. But Susano can kind of fit both roles. His team fight presence is really good, and he can chase you down too. So I do really like this pick.
Susano just, I think
play it more, right?
Yeah, I know. I agree with you. A lot of junglers are like, oh no, Susano sucks. And then they just like win a bunch of games with them, and I'm like, okay, well, nothing I can do if you don't see it.
Well, there's the Hun bots I was thinking for Simplicity, but I think all the
Much
same
better.
reasons why he's there for Simplicity, he'd be good here for Horizon Union. Perhaps even better, because I think they were really lacking in easily applied crowd control, and this definitely kind of band-aids over that.
It does, and it makes it very easy to kill frontliners. You have to watch maniaKK and Genetics this game. You cannot afford to get abducted into Fear No Evil'd in the later stages of the game. You have to be wary that that's what this composition is designed to do. Not a lot of AoE here for Horizon Union. This is a single target DPS composition, and in the late game, it's going to be on those frontliners.
Remember, though, that Geb shield really good into that CC, so maybe you want to get Geb +1 inside that Fear No Evil so he can't shield him. We'll find out how it ends up working, though, in practice. Horizon Union versus Simplicity, game number 3. Let's start it up.
Practice how you perform. There it is. That's what we're asking. So will it work out in practice? We'll see. But I'm waiting for the performance. The rubber match between Horizon Union and Simplicity will be coming your way in just a moment. We'll see how everything works out here. Simplicity bringing a different composition, different mindset here to game numero 3. maniaKK surrounded already. Ready to go for it. So when you're looking at this solo lane matchup, Terrorem, we saw this backwards before where maniaKK was on Order side and Chaos side, and I think that Order versus Chaos is a conversation, but perhaps not for the solo lane. So do you expect this to go exactly the same way as game number 1?
Not necessarily. I think that with the Khepri rotation now being unhindered with any shenanigans from Genetics this time around, I think we're seeing more pressure from Terror this time. I think Khepri will assist in the matters faster than the Cap can, as we're seeing maniaKK having to stall out the lane a little bit, make sure that he's in range of getting this blue buff. But now he's actually going to lose some minions under that solo lane, so he's going to slowly lose the experience battle.
That's what's the same as previous games. What's different? Not enough, because another thing that's the same from previous games is the fact that Astyaniax has the Khepri again. Now, it's going to be very easy for if Horizon Union loses, we'll all point to the Khepri and go, told you so, right? But there has to be a reason why Simplicity if Horizon Union wins, we'll all point to the Khepri and say, I told you so. There has to be a reason why Simplicity allow Khepri to go through. The first pick is their own, but the bans as well.
Yeah, normally whenever you're allowing Khepri to go through like this many times, you would pick and execute afterwards, whether it's Outquong, Thanatos, Achilles on your own side, but that's not the case for Simplicity.
Uh-oh. Grabbed up early, Genetics half HP, nice combo. Here's all four, jump over the top. A little bit of a shell, not good enough. The overhand smash, Markus finds first kill. Faeles gonna be jumped after, but will find a way out. First blood to HU.
Yet again, off of the Khepri abduct, the first blood was enabled. Yet again, we're seeing the Khepri make the plays. Whether it's the early game or the late game, this is a problem that Simplicity will have to find a way to solve, and Genetics having the blink. He's thinking offensively, obviously. He wants to make the plays happen once he's level 5, but if he's going to face check around corners like that, he's going to get punished by those abducts every time. And to be fair to Genetics, it's something that is not like against all SMITE rules to do this early in the game. You need to be able to make those rotations happen, but you know, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get punished.
Right now, Horizon Union does the punishment. You are absolutely correct. As far as the rest of everybody's concerned, that's a different story. Again, Simplicity here looking at the Khepri and watching them just take care of business. How do you deal with it? And I look at Simplicity, and if the decision is to allow Khepri to go to the other side, I want to see options to kind of deal with the Khepri. I don't really see many. When I say options, I look for silences and stuns that stop the abduct, or I look at ways to control the Khepri so that they can't pull the ultimate. The second part that I just said, well, that's on Batz on the other side.
Yeah.
And the first part that I just said, I mean, there are a number of choices that you can go in the jungle, in the short side, in the long side, and we still don't see those choices either.
Outside of the stuns and the silences, you can also rely on cripples to stop the Khepri abduct.
Yep.
Ares has been really popular. We haven't really seen
where's
that
Ares?
picked or banned. That could be one way to do it. Another thing is just a lot of AoE damage. Hit the Khepri and hit somebody else to make him have to make a very difficult decision of who do I use the Scarab's Blessing on. And that's going to be the same goal from Horizon Union against Genetics' Geb.
Yeah.
Because he can only shield one target at a time. So who's it going to be? If you're hitting a Hunbat's ultimate on Genetics and insert other player here, that means Genetics has a much more challenging demand.
For sure. For simplicity, I mean, Ares is a great choice. You've got, and somebody in the meta right now. Thanatos is a little bit off the side, but certainly is a nice look against the Khepri, both execution-wise and silence-wise. You're looking for a jungler with a stun. That's the entire cast. You know what I mean?
Not Nemesis, but yeah.
Sure. Aggro brought up that Susano's fantastic. I'm there too. But maniaKK has played the Osiris 3 games in a row and has done well, but also, or 2 games in a row, but also the team has lost two games in a row.
Yeah.
maniaKK, not the reason. Osiris, not the reason. But you can still improve, I think.
It could come down to maybe having him play something else, like such as a Jormungandr, to make those rotations a little bit impactful. We saw it in the last set, actually, how Sibi on Flashpoint soloing side made that World Serpent work.
Oh, yeah.
maniaKK, whenever he plays the Osiris, I think he's just looking for ways to mitigate damage with a Judgment Tether and not ways of how to really control objectives. Because it seems that he's also getting out-rotated. That last game specifically, multiple times Terror got there first.
Easily squeezing on out. DeathPanter narrowly avoids that nonsense. There's the dash away as well. Horizon Union looking for their next play because Simplicity has largely taken up and found some of these neutral camps, and so the First Blood Gold really just pocket change at this point, not really what Horizon Union wanted to do with it. And so with that in mind, Gold Fury probably a little bit too early. Neither of these teams have fantastic secure. Echrome can, of course, pull a DeathPanter and snatch something away with a 3-1 combo. But really, it's about burning it down. Simplicity's StreakUp and DeathPanter can kill an objective very, very quickly. So I think that's going to be the game plan here for Simplicity if they start to look for objectives.
And Horizon Union, they're kind of like just sitting there as like, well, we have a lead, but like, what do we do with it? Like, we're not used to being in this kind of a lead. It's usually Simplicity that have the early game completely dominated, whether it's blue buff invades, red buff invades. And it was Horizon Union on the defensive side at almost every given stage, but this time around, they are free to look for these attempts, and I'm not seeing it at a Horizon. Now, to be fair, with their composition, they don't have to go for these invades.
Sure.
They can still just wait out the late game and feel confident that the Hunbat's control, the defensive measures from Khepri is good enough to win the team fight. But sometimes when you got it, you got to flaunt it.
Right now, where do you want them to flaunt it?
Probably in the blue buff invade if this gank is successful.
Well, here's one. maniaKK fearing no evil. Oh, when he fears no man either. The jump over the wall here. Just a mere flesh wound, as Osiris lets us know. Great job there. Beautiful understanding of the pathing. There is, I mean, you can break that down. You can't jump over that wall at all points. It's just that one spot.
Oh, yeah. It is very difficult. It's a thick wall. And the timing of maniaKK to disengage as well. He doesn't even miss out on farm. He doesn't miss out on his timing of a backing. He still finishes off his boots. He even picks up a ward just for good measure, anticipating another gank from Markus. And this is what we need to see. The problem was Terror really waited a long time, I think, for that fatal strike.
Oh. maniaKK wanted to stop that back.
He did.
A little close there.
Unlucky, but either way, I think that if his ultimate was a little bit sooner before maniaKK was at the wall, that could have been an actual kill. But even if they do get the kill, you're not getting the tier 1 tower. Totem of Ku, I believe, was down. Blue buff would have been looked at. I think that would have been the nicest play to follow up.
Yeah. It's always looking for the objective, no matter how minor it may be. All teams in control of their own buffs. All teams in control of their own destiny as well. Tie game here in our early stages. Tie series here as well. 1-1, a best of 3. Simplicity winning the first game, Horizon taking the second one. Horizon nearly taking the first one as well.
Oh yeah, 52 minutes into that one. It took 6 Fire Giants to end that first game. All 6 of them going to Simplicity. Credit to Mr. Stefan playing that Morrigan in game number 1, now having it in game number 3. But I believe the biggest changes for Simplicity between games 2 and 3 was DeathPanter now on the Muzen Cup, StreakUp now on the Merlin.
Yes, that definitely, taking the Muzen Cup away from Echrome was a very large thing for sure.
The Phoenix defenses in the first game with just the Honey alone was so annoying, I think, for Simplicity to try to find a way to penetrate that invisible wall barrier. But now that they have it for themselves with the cripple, maybe that's the answer to the Khepri, is crippling it with the Muzen Cup Stinger to stop the abduct.
I mean, that's all they got, and that's certainly going to be a big part of it. I think the idea is Khepri isolates one target, and you isolate the Khepri, just jump on him.
Could be it.
Could be the key.
Force an early ultimate, see what happens from there.
So right now, 10 minutes on the clock. Horizon Union are getting antsy. They don't necessarily have a large lead, but they certainly are pushing in the mid lane rather. You see the pings as Markus's flank gets called out. Simplicity able to kind of walk away from there.
Seems like Simplicity are just going to be the patient ones this time. And this is a much different style than we're used to seeing out of them. So I'm kind of curious to see how good their defense is as opposed to their offense. Because the early game offense is like SPL level, like better than SPL level, honestly. Like the way they've been able to play against Horizon Union. I have never seen SPL teams like get that kind of an early lead. But their ability to close it out, anything but SPL-like. They need to figure out a way to close that one out. So maybe their defense is what they have strengths in. We'll see.
Horizon Union again looked like they wanted to start pushing up a little bit, but denied the opportunity. Simplicity are doing a good job of just staring at them, you know? And that's, I mean that, I really do mean that. And really, I think the breakdown there is the positioning. Your positioning alone can be tough to penetrate. We talk about that ability to defend Phoenixes specifically, but even in the 3v3, if you're just positioned in such a way that the opponent is threatened from each angle, the opponent can't really find that entryway into that fight.
There's so many different styles of how you can approach these fights or these objectives for that matter. Simplicity are the ones that are slightly on the back foot, but they see a window to sneak this one away.
This is that burn I was talking about, Toli. And Simplicity are going to be able to pick that one up, no problem. And Faeles stops Markus in the interim. Great job there. I mentioned neither team has really strong confirm, but between DeathPanter and StreakUp, they're going to be able to burn that down.
And this is the difference of the builds. Tier 1 of the Transcendence was picked up by Faeles. And with the Crusher, this is an all-in style where it doesn't matter if you have CDR as a Susano. Just using your whole kit is enough to kill this glass cannon style Hunt Batz, only level 11. Whereas Markus on the Hunt Batz with just Jotun's Wrath and Boots is using his cooldown reductions to try to force multiple relics and then get off for round 2 for his teammates to follow up, which means Markus is not going to win the 1v1s against Faeles.
No, Markus right now, well, DeathPanter's going to get attacked by Khepri, who uses the blink. Very different mentalities, as you said. Faeles looking for the pick, for sure. Markus going the team fight build. We discussed it earlier with his Daji. The Daji built the Jotun's Wrath as well. Now, that looks bad in that 1v1, but now when we see a group up and a Fear No Evil forced out, and then another one when beads are still on cooldown and CC immune ults are still on cooldown, that's where that's going to look really good. When 3 people fall down because they're all feared and they all die, that's the secondary application. That's what that Jotun's Wrath is for. So later on, we might see that.
Yeah, and even if like Markus did have Crusher as well, like he's still gonna lose that 1v1.
Susano.
Yeah, Susano being able to cancel or rather weave in your basic attacks in between your Storm Katas, between your jet streams as well, and resetting it once you do teleport to your jet stream. Like as a Hunt Batz, you're not using all your abilities for the 1v1 because you don't want to somersault up and down.
Right.
You want to save that for a rainy day. Whereas Susano can literally Storm Kata you on 2 of those hits and then use the 3rd strike for the disengage while still basic attacking you.
Jetstream can even be the escape if he needs be. He can use everything on you there and then find his way out via Jetstream. A lot of different options for the Susano player. And not many options for Mr. Stefan. StreakUp leaves him without anything to lean on. Great 1v1. Meanwhile, a team fight more towards the center. Genetics pops the ultimate. Horizon Union walks away clean. No ultimates used in the escape.
Not really that much damage on this level 10 Khepri. Fully stacked Gauntlet of Thebes. They're rolling out is Genetics. Thinking about going back in. But this is the second time in the set, I believe, that StreakUp has found a solo kill onto Mr. Stefan. Last time, he was the Morrigan that got the solo kill onto the Merlin. And this time, he wins the other side of the coin flip as well.
So right now, Simplicity have been able to take the lead, not only with the Gold Fury, but with the fight as well. And so that puts them about 1,000 gold ahead. Nothing really that's not going to win them the game, but it's certainly the start. The Gold Fury still has about 2 minutes to respawn. So for now, Simplicity's job is to just continue to casually win these matchups. Continuously, casually grab these neutral camps. If they start a big party, honestly, Markus might be able to counterattack and find a giant team fight counter initiation. But if you stick to these 1v1s, these 2v2s, and all right, these are my oracles because I got poked out, no problem. That's where Simplicity wants to fight.
Yeah, when you mention Simplicity having a goal lead, I almost say like,
really?
Unless it is an 18,000 goal lead the same way they had it at 52 minutes, I'm not interested. I'm not buying in that Simplicity even have a goal lead at any point in the game because of how good Horizon are at defending.
Yeah, man. You know, and that's actually a unique thing, I think, watching all these players. I mean, we watch 40 hours of SMITE a week, right? And we've been doing it for years on years on years. Before you were watching, you were playing. We've seen it all. Lower-end teams, newer teams, minor league teams wind up, most of the time, playing very well from ahead, playing decently from parity, playing poorly from behind, simply because you don't have as much time practicing from behind. A lot of times when players scrim, surrender at 9 minutes because you killed us on the right side. You don't practice these 25-minute, 54-minute slugfests. So it's rare to see a team with that skill set. It's very impressive watching Horizon Union, who are arguably better from behind than they are with the lead.
It seems to be the way. Sometimes you got to use your opponent's weight against them to make that epic fall.
What is that? Krav Maga? Where you use the opponent's momentum?
I think it's like a lot
Brazilian
of
Jiu-Jitsu?
It's a lot of martial arts for sure.
Krav Maga and BJJ specifically because of the fact that you use your opponent's weight against them. Horizon Union bringing out the Krav Maga for sure. I like that. Laughing at my own jokes. I'm funny. Thanks, man. 16 minutes on the clock.
Folks are coming out in full force today. We're seeing full out force F. Battinger.
I think the first bad joke was game number 1. Just took too long to get to the punchline. Gold Fury started by Horizon Union. Just kidding. Simplicity know exactly what's up. And again, let me reiterate. Real quick and dirty. Simplicity want minor engagements because that's where they'll succeed. Faeles will pop somebody down and they'll die. Horizon Union want big team fights because that's where Markus comes through in the clutch and the Khepri can work out. Horizon Union forcing one of those big team fights, getting the Gold Fury down to 25. maniaK's here willing to fight. A bad fear, no evil, but a good OD Fury. maniaKK on the backside. They're looking to control him. Terror shows up. Terror put down.
Now Markus trying to retreat as well. DeathPanter going to be looking to slow him down with the honey as maniaKK sees Mr. Stefan, but not able to reveal him through the stealth. A defensive fear no evil to ensure Simplicity couldn't find a way to steal that one, but not having him for the fight to save Terror's life.
Oni Fury a little bit too early. 17-18. Maybe this is a good time, but Simplicity absolutely take this one. They're going to get the mid lane tower and the Pyromancer, and because of that, I say Simplicity actually win this exchange.
Absolutely.
Despite the fact that Horizon pick up the objective.
Totally agree with you here. This is the one sacrifice that's not really worth it. Like, yes, Oni Fury is nice to control, but this early in the game, you're only getting one Gladiator minion buffed up as opposed to the 3 after the 30-minute mark. So the timing also matters of how hard you commit to these Furies. as losing those two objectives between the tier 1 mid and the Pyromancer just goes in Simplicity's favor. But then again, Horizon answer back with the left side of their own.
Nice work there. And so, low kill count here. 3-1. Don't buy a Hide of the Urchin today. Oh my god, as soon as I say that, I realize maniaKK has a Hide of the Urchin. And he didn't buy it in games 1 or 2.
He didn't.
I didn't even say that, meaning to take a shot towards the build. But now that we're here, I will row this boat. Kill count very low, and still we see the Hide of the Urchin build here, Toli.
To be fair, it's about to pop off.
Okay.
Like, just because a game is, let's say, 10-10, and you buy a Hide of Urchin, doesn't mean the kills are going to keep rolling after that kill count.
That's very true as well.
This means that Simplicity wants to force team fights, or they're anticipating Horizon Union to force objectives, and that they can get a pick here and a pick there. And if maniaKK had that Hide of Urchin earlier, he would have already had a stack after killing Terrorem.
Right now, maniaKK going to be in trouble. Beautiful knockup coming out from Susano, man. Faeles on the way out. You bring up a good point. You definitely bring up a good point. maniaKK trying to predict the future here, knowing that Horizon want to go into these big team fights. On the other side, you know why I think why it's surprising to me is because, as we identified, Simplicity want to look for these minor engagements, these smaller fights, and that would be that's conducive to a Hide of the Urchin. Look for the pickoffs, and very, very good. But Simplicity aren't getting them. Horizon Union are playing very, very well in that they're getting the engagements that they want.
Oh, the cripple forcing out the relics from Echrome. Follow-up from StreakUp, not enough though.
Trouble for Markus. Throws the monkey, thinking about it. Saved by the Khepri. DeathPanter was there, but so was Terror on the Achilles. So no problem, and it's a team split.
Look at all that damage that StreakUp took just from 2 abilities and a basic attack from Mr. Stefan. That Polynomicon going a long way. StreakUp was a little less than 50% health. That could be problematic once the Phoenix's sieges start to occur. Like, that was the reason why Game 1 took 52 minutes.
You hear me kind of like hold my breath there real quick, because I want to agree, but I find myself just, I mean, is StreakUp able to do more? He's got a nice build. I like this build. The gem is interesting. Where can StreakUp kind of exert his pressure?
It's going to come down to how the Simplicity frontline play and how StreakUp kind of follows up. Because even though he got a solo kill onto Mr. Stefan earlier, it didn't matter. Simplicity weren't able to really lean on that lane to get a tier 1, tier 2 tower during that solo kill. It took a while to get that tower after the split push from Mr. Stefan anyway. So now it's going to come down to him waiting out for his Obsidian Shard and maybe just controlling out the Khepri once he abducts.
Beads popped. That's a big one. DeathPanter won't have those available. Meanwhile, off screen, the tussle on the right side. They're just trying to tickle the solo laner.
I mean, tickling him hard enough to force out a fatal strike, I think, is a win in my book if I'm Simplicity.
Good CDR on the other side, but Mr. Stefan already takes out StreakUp. He's basic. maniaKK surrounded. This is going to be bad for maniaKK. There's the stun. Walk away. Really thought he was going to go down.
Oh, he is going to go down to Mr. Stefan on the flank on top of him. maniaKK just in no man's land after losing one ally going in still.
DeathPanter here, overhand smash. Double kill for Mr. Stefan. And Genetics, shield for the moment, but, oh, wow. Rollout gets away. Ignore him, ignore him, ignore him, ignore him, ignore him, ignore him, ignore him. Terror's here, as he should be. Zoning, sure, no problem. Ultimate, halfway done. Won't have the execute just yet. His job is to annoy Genetics, kill him if he gets too close.
It'll be up in less than 20 seconds. They know where Faeles is, and they know exactly where Genetics is.
Halfway done with the Fire Giant. Faeles takes care of Markus up top, and Genetics goes down to hand of the Morrigan. So Faeles is the only one around.
Mission accomplished.
Easy.
Taken out one is all that mattered. Faeles.
Nice job.
Oh!
Huh!
We rarely see that.
Ah! Mr. Stefan takes care of Faeles. Echrome.
I'm surprised Faeles didn't go through the tower. Like, he was out if he just used his Storm Kata to run away and Jetstream away. He wanted to actually take a 1v2 there. A little interesting there, but more interesting was what happened to Markus there. He wanted to get the camp to heal off of the Assassin's Blessing. We've all been there. We've all been there.
I'm telling you just how it is.
You've been there, right, F-Dog?
Never, ever. I think I died to a harpy yesterday on stream. 4-6, read the kills. And a tight game here, a tied game for if you ask me, man. A couple of 100 gold, 600, 700, maybe wave to wave, separate our teams. So for me, it's about simplicity, kind of looking for the that next punch and where it's going to come from. Horizon Union has the momentum in their sails, I think. The wind providing them pressure and power. And now here they are around the fire giant. Pyromancer goes down, and it's all Horizon Union.
Just flexing wherever they can, looking for more stunts is Mr. Stefan. At this point of the game, anything can really happen on the right side of the map. It's a matter of what team controls the most vision on that side. Anticipating Mr. Stefan on the Morrigan or using it to Horizon's advantage.
All right, now we've got a brief pause in the action. Tied up around that fire giant where teams are, well, tied up for lack of a better term. Just locking helmets, as I said. The Rams is going horn to horn. So watching this one, Horizon Union, like you mentioned, has control of this fire giant pit, and they're looking for their moment of opportunity. With all that said, with the Morrigan across the way, constantly a threat for a counter initiation with the Hun Batz.
And it's not just the Morrigan, it's also the long-range setup that they have with the Khepri, the Ullr damage, the huge AoE CC disruption coming out of Markus. It's not easy for Simplicity to position themselves, but when they can isolate targets like that, it might just be.
Big Fear No Evil coming out, and Markus going to be saved there. Secondary Fear No Evil coming out, and Markus will absolutely be saved. What's uh-oh?
Terror in the mid lane actually going to get a little bit of trouble. Body blocks from Genetics slow coming out of DeathPanter.
There's a knockup. It's not enough.
But then the flank from Mr. Stefan. They have to turn around and look at the Morrigan instead. But they were still focused on the Achilles.
Mr. Stefan. This man got out the backpack today, doing the heavy lifting right now. 7-11. And he's making everybody into a Slurpee. Fantastic job, man. The double kill on the left side. Wow.
That needed to be the focus fire. There was no reason to continue all that DPS onto Terror. Like, as soon as you get stunned, he recognized that he got stunned. He used the Aegis, but then he's still, DeathPanter was still looking at the Achilles instead of the Morrigan.
That looked like a frustration play. I won't absolutely say it is.
Because normally, whenever you're making that kind of a tunnel vision, you're thinking like, he's only one basic attack away. And once I get this kill, then I'll turn my attention onto the secondary target. But honestly,
he was far.
Yeah, well, it's not even that he was far. It's that the Morrigan, a squishy target, is always going to be the better target than any tanky target.
Truth. Absolute truth. Terror doing a great job of baiting the enemy into harm's way. No decision there from Terror. Earlier, you were team Spirit Robe. I was team Oni Hunters Gorm.
Sure. What about both?
Yeah. Why not? Why not both? ¿Por qué los dos?
¿Por qué no los dos? Yeah. Now you're gonna get 24% mitigation once you're surrounded by 3 members and you get CC'd.
Ouch. And that's kind of what we saw out of Terror before. Fire Giant brought down halfway by Horizon Union already. maniaKK and Genetics knocking on the door, and Mr. Stefan making StreakUp knock on Heaven's door. Faeles does punish him. Would that be that? 4 players with Fire Giant already. maniaKK in trouble. A nice ultimate from Genetics. Terror takes down the mid lane. DeathPanter. Trouble for the Khepri as maniaKK chases them down, but the execute is good, and Terror finds 2.
But they're not done yet. Looking for Genetics as well. Using that Fatal Strike just to get a little bit closer. Genetics not going to get disrupted there using that rollout, but maniaKK, every single death since his pickup of that high version has not been able to pick up a single stack. Just not an effective pickup.
Tier 2 tower crumbles. Mid lane Phoenix on the horizon, no pun intended. 3 players out for 10 plus. Horizon Union with the 4-on-2 power play. Faeles forced out. 25% left to go on the bird. And Echrome on the prize will take it down. Respawns abound. Simplicity are here. Horizon nowhere to be found.
Disciplined play not to go for the end there, recognizing everyone was respawning out of simplicity. Take the win, walk away, look for the gold theory, spend all that gold in hand, and just complete the checkbox, honestly. Horizon Union are looking much cleaner than Simplicity did when Simplicity had the Fire Giants in Game 1.
This was the other side of the coin that I was looking for. I had mentioned in Games 1 and 2, Horizon Union looked better when they were behind than when they did find themselves with momentum or even a tangible lead. I don't know why or how or who, but that's just the tale of the tape. That's exactly what we saw. A team looking better from behind than with a lead. Now, Horizon Union with a lead, a substantial one at that, 5K. That is something to stand on. That's an apple box. Horizon Union playing cleanly and well.
Sometimes through true adversity is where we truly find ourselves to overcome any obstacle and succeed afterwards. And that's kind of what Horizon Union has done after their 52-minute loss in Game number 1. They found a way to come back in Game 2 with that Fire Giant steal. And Game number 3, from their very first blood, just didn't allow any invades in Game 3, and we're dictating the pacing, finding 2 of 3 Furies, now going to be 3 of 4.
Well, you say that. What if just kidding. Horizon Union take another one. Man, what a story. What a fantastic moment. Hey, Toli, where on the standings does Simplicity find themselves?
Simplicity, so considering that the last set, Flashpoint did win, Flashpoint are currently 4-1. So
they're
Simplicity
in the
are second, tied with Queso at 3-1 each.
Where's Horizon Union?
Kind of in the bottom. They're number 5 in the seedings, right above Exordium.
This is Mike Tyson's Super Punch-Out right now, where you're playing Lil Mac, the invisible kind of brawler,
Yeah.
and this giant man is in front of you, and Horizon Union punched in the cheat codes, and they're bringing it home. I am all the way here for this. The David Goliath story. Your boy loves it.
Yeah, it's a good little underdog story for sure. Horizon Union are no slouches, I believe, though, to take for granted. You can't give these kind of players momentum, honestly.
Sure.
Like Mr. Stefan having plenty of SPL experience. I think the rest of the Horizon members are skilled enough to battle with the best of them.
Left side is where we're going to see it start. maniaKK dodges the charge from the Khepri. The Titan being pushed on. No big deal. Fear no evil on the back line. That's going to be the big moment here with the answer back from Mr. Stefan. Genetics is low. Markus is lower. Oh, that would have won the game.
Definitely would have, as Terror gets revived coming
Again.
through. Yeah, what a play from this Khepri.
That, man, beautiful. Listen, I have a lot of Horizon Union to watch for sure, but Mr. Stefan leading this team, and the team has largely been able to find these kind of, the few wins they have are usually team-based. I like Mr. Stefan just saying, give me the ball. Give me the Morrigan. I'll bring us some kills. I'll bring us some objectives. I'll do the dirty work. Just promise me, Anya, that you can land your ult. Just promise me, Markus, that you can drop a Fear No Evil. Just promise me, Terra, that you're gonna land the executes. And all of those have been happening up until that last fight. We saw some missed executes, unfortunately, and Horizon Union aren't able to convert into the victory that was right there. Everything else worked, though. And when Horizon Union have all their stars aligned, Toli, that team fight looks good.
Sometimes when you're like executing or doing any ability and there's 2 targets and you're like, all right, but who do I kill? Sometimes you like aim to try to hit both of them at the same time, and then they both split up, like they part like the Red Sea, and then you miss both of them. You're like, oops.
Hyper-specific reference time, since I never do that. In the Goofy movie, where Max is with Goofy, and Goofy wants to go fishing, and Max wants to see the Powerline concert.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
It's left to the fishing hole and right to Hollywood. And there's this moment where they're driving, and Goofy goes, "Well, Max, left or right?" And it's just, left! And he just misses everything completely. Oh, man. Terror really wanted to see Powerline that time.
Man, that's a trip down memory lane right there.
Horizon Union taking a trip down the right side lane. Mid lane already poked down. Somebody's got to go kick that through. right now. HU trying to hook up on the right side. Terror dashing forward. Just baiting out some nonsense. Mid lane. Phoenix goes down. Mr. Stefan in trouble. Beads. Aegis. We'll see you later.
Wow, just like
5
that.
on 4.
Even during the knockup, like that was just enough damage. His beats were not up for another 10 seconds, and now it's Simplicity that's going to go on the chase.
Not worth. Faeles grabs Markus. That's another one. Khepri on the run. Genetics chasing. Blinks away. Mid lane would be the lane for Simplicity to push up. They do have towers to go for as well.
Echrome looking to split push the right side. There's still tier 2 towers having to go through before the Phoenixes. Echrome will back out, playing defense. I think he's actually going to stay and try to go for the Phoenix.
I like this choice because either he gets a Phoenix and there's 2 birds down, or somebody answers. I don't think Simplicity can win here.
Oh, he should stay. He should stay. He is staying. He's staying on the right side.
Good call. 2 birds down. Horizon Union with it. Echrome. Oh, man. Okay. Hot mid lane fight. Terror going to be in trouble. DeathPanter weaves his way out of there. Just kidding.
The last Phoenix shot before it fell found its hit onto DeathPanter, and now it's Horizon Union on the chase.
You know, I wish Echrome would have stayed there. Echrome might have been able to win this game by himself.
Possibly.
And I don't think he was needed on the mid lane defense.
He wouldn't have gotten there in time, but at least he's here for the chase down potential as they're looking for any sort of stragglers to stop out the backs. Terror looking for StreakUp. Sees maniaKK has finished backing. Now, to be fair for Echrome, he would have had to wait for the next wave anyway. So it would have been a long, dedicated wait. And on top of that, it wasn't a fire wave, it was a regular wave.
The call would have been from the team to stop the backs. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. Horizon Union now getting aggressive as a team. maniaKK half HP, the whole squad here. Mid lane bird down, right side bird down. Titan at half HP. Horizon Union barking down the door. Simplicity tied for second. They're playing defense, triple kill for the Wizard. And Horizon Union punch with all their might and get kicked in the stomach.
Oh, Faeles having to defend the right side because you don't want to lose to minions, obviously. And yeah, this is going to be it, Tom. I think Simplicity have enough of a window to just run it down mid. The damage
40?
From DeathPanter, wow, so unfortunate. Now, granted, Genetics with the most epic hold outside the Titan room. The key location was outside the Titan room, delaying the follow-up damage. Markus's jump-in was good, but nobody was there right away with him because of Genetics. Cataclysm riding outside that middle Phoenix.
Horizon Union so close to taking care of Simplicity.
Wow.
But so far at the same time. Simplicity down 8,000 gold, winds up taking it home, and the whole set as well. Oh boy, that's a turnaround.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is kind of like the downfall of Simplicity or the rise up of Horizon Union, but a fantastic 3-game set of SMITE we just saw today between an epic 52-minute game, a nice steal objective in Game 2 to lead to a victory, and then just, yet again, more back-and-forth action in Game 3.
Horizon Union, again, look better from behind than they do with the lead.
A little bit, honestly, just a smidge.
If you're going to have a problem, that's the problem to have, though. You can always learn how to play with the lead. Looking at the numbers of Simplicity here again, Faeles 8-1-3, StreakUp 3-2-4, and you know, it's very funny. We've had a really awesome series called Roll Queue where we talk to a group of the players, and we've discussed junglers, we've discussed carries. And one of the questions that we've hit both times has been, has there been any non-pro league in your position that stick out? Faeles was mentioned, and StreakUp were mentioned. These guys, this game, absolutely earned those mentions. I mean, Simplicity, this is what they're able to do. They are one of the best teams in the league, now tied one more time for first place as they take this one.
It's not necessarily about the individual performance of the kill count versus the death count or the player damage that StreakUp was able to get top player damage. It's about the team collective unit. The composition was a little bit better in the late game coming through from Horizon. Yet again, this Khepri proves to be a problem. Multiple saves, even despite having the execute here for Terror. It was like a good enough of a boost for themselves to be able to waterfall those team fights.
Clean stuff all around? maybe not. Maybe some shining and buffing needs to be going, but a win is a win. And this one belongs to Simplicity. We're going to North America soon. We'll be right back with the minor league.